Hello, hello, happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday Witchy Hangout. We do this every single Friday where we blend our energies together and we ask a juicy question of the universe. So if that sounds good to you, it's usually a pretty good time. We go through all of the fullness of the human experience and emotions, and we really go there. And this week, instead of doing the general messages, so we usually do 3 piles and then a general message at the end, but we've been reading the book Codependent No More by Beattie, and I just want to remind you guys of that in case you dip in and out of the piles and you are really drawn into hearing what the book has to say this week or any other week. And so we will be doing that at the end, so it'll be like a couple hours from now, but just letting you know that ahead of time. So hello, I hope that you guys had such a beautiful week. Something happened to me this week and I want to tell you a little bit about it. And I do just want to say thank you guys again so much for allowing me to be a person. I took a little time off this last week. For those of you that are on Patreon, we didn't do the live stream that we usually do the first Saturday of the month over there for just patrons, because we have 5 weekends in the month of January. And I'm telling you, my guides really know what is up and what they're doing. So I just needed to ask for a little time off. So we switched that around. I want to remind you, if you're on Patreon, we are doing the live stream tomorrow. And the live stream topic over there is, why are you still so drawn to them? So I did just want to remind you of that. But this last week, with my energy just being able to kind of relax, I totally had one of those like enlightening moments and those enlightenment experiences. And I don't want to go like super deep into it, because if you've ever had one of those experiences, you know that you can't put it really into words anyway. But enlightenment is a funny word, and this has come up on the channel before. I'm really fond of like Adi Ashanti and the way that he kind of frames this, because certain people have asked me like, well, why do you think that you're not enlightened, Jess? Like, but I know that I'm not enlightened because I've had enlightenment experiences and where I feel at one with everything, like just in total peace and love and harmony, and it's not a mind feeling. It's like just a mind and body, like fullness feeling, and where the knowing is just like so deep, but I haven't been able to really sustain that. And to me, that's really what the sages and the teachers are like really able to do. But I did have another one of those enlightenment experiences, and I was like, it just hit me like of a morning. And I was just like uncontrollably sobbing, like tears of joy, like while I was making my oatmeal. And like Alex came in and was like, are you okay? And while I was doing that, I grabbed a piece of paper because I didn't want to forget, and I was kind of channeling things down. And if you'll permit me, I want to read what I wrote, because it was kind of like a poem and a love letter. And I feel like for a lot of you, this is a message. Maybe you need to hear this from me, because I feel like it is me kind of like making amends or like kind of shining a light on especially like, I want to say the teachings that come through me. But also I feel like for some of you, this might actually and literally be a message all on its own, like coming in from somewhere or someone or somebody's like higher self or something like that. And when they're able to kind of touch it and, be whole in that moment. So I want to read this to you and take this, like just let this land and take this however it resonates. But I just wanted to share this, and I titled it Shapeshifter after like the cards in this deck. I was thinking about like the Shapeshifter card, because that card like really means something visceral to me. It kind of always comes out, and it's this kind of energy, or this kind of enemy energy, that I get like afraid of it and everything. So okay, here we go. I've been praying to change you, but I needed you to change me. I needed you to change me. And so now I let you go. I release you in gratitude, in love, in the deepest love I could have from one human being to another. I needed you to change me. I was miserable. I was small. I was weak and meek, and I couldn't face the life outstretched before me. And so I blamed you, my teacher, and I saw all of your flaws. It was so much easier. It was so much easier than seeing me. I misunderstood you and the moment that stood there between us and the nourishment it was bringing into my life. I can see now that it was you and the fruits you brought into my life that has released me from my chains and brought me peace in the end and freedom in the beginning. I blamed you for my feelings, the feelings you brought out, but they were my own, and they were making me sick and keeping me helpless and weak. But weak I am not, helpless I am not. I hope you can forgive me, this trespass on your energy. For what I did in ignorance, and what I saw from a place of lack and weakness, because I worshipped a false god called fear. Through his tutelage and guidance that I regularly took, over the guidance and wisdom and advice of my own teacher, I used my astuteness, a gift that was given to me, to map you. And with the deepest respect and reverence for your energy, I have not been wrong about what I've seen there, what I've seen in you. Because what you were to me, I am to you also. Enemies on the surface, friends underneath. I was wrong to hate you. I was wrong to reject you as a whole, or to whatever extent I did that. And whatever feelings you have towards me, I hope you can see a similar nourishment for yourself. That the feelings I have brought out are your own. But they were making you sick, keeping you helpless and weak. But weak you are not. Helpless you are not. I forgive you this trespass on my energy. I know that what you did in ignorance. And what you saw from a place of lack and weakness. We've both worshipped the same false god called fear, who kept us apart and at odds. He may have even meant well with his tutelage and guidance, but it gave us a model of predator-prey, and I think we're ready to move beyond that now. Maybe not together yet, for there is still healing to be done, but I can see now what fear taught me to call an attack, you were taught to call it defense, and vice versa. And from that splintered place, we've tried to see each other. We've created a separate false righteousness in the name of preservation, self-preservation. I don't blame you. It was supposed to keep us safe. But in preserving the self, we lost something else. Peace, harmony, love, balance, respect, objectivity. And that loss fueled a war between us, between the smallest versions of ourselves. And I don't want to do that anymore. In viewing you as different from me, I bolstered my false self. But in so many ways, we are the same. I could see your manipulation, but mine was righteous. Because, well, you started it, not realizing that you view me the same way. And we each call different moments the starting point. And I can still see that you are wrong about something, but I can also see that place is your catharsis and the key to your own transformation. And you will turn your gaze away from me and any others and onto it when you're ready, and that moment will change you forever. Thank you. I have read that a couple of times and I haven't been able to get through it without crying, but honestly, I feel like I've just kind of accepted that and integrated that, but that was something that I feel like I really just integrated and really understood on a fundamental deep level, the two different teachers of fear and the wisdom and guidance of what I would call my spiritual teacher, Ramana, love and compassion. And so in the messages that have come out, I feel like I've in a way spoke from two mouths. And it's caused some level of maybe confusion just in me, or it's kind of been the lens that distorted the energy, and I called it defense and I called it righteousness, and it made me feel safe, but at the same time it kept us, at odds, like the souls that we are at odds. And I just want to say that I love you and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Okay, so moving on from that, thank you so much if you listened. So moving right on to that, let's get into the reading proper itself. So I'm tearing up and I haven't even heard it yet. You're so sweet. Okay, so I'm just going to throw up the anchor card here. The anchor card is not one of the choices, but it is a common energy that's gone into all of the piles. And honestly, because I just read that bit of information, that might be a common energy that's going into all of the piles, or it's some kind of something that is being worked through as well. But I believe that we read the cards together. I believe that we are all intuitive and that we're all psychic. I believe that there's just obstacles to realizing that. And the obstacle usually is fear. We're afraid of being seen deeply. We're afraid of what other people might think. We're afraid of if we tap into somebody else's energy fully, what we might tap into, what we might be presented with there. But I do feel like we're all intuitive. And so I do feel like tarot is kind of a fun and safe way where we can tap into that and be on that journey together. So take a look at the card and any of the feelings that you're connected with. I feel like I pick up on the general messages, and you might pick up on more specific messages to your situation, or maybe even it resonates with other people's situation as well. And that's why it's cool that we are doing this as a Sangha, a spiritual community. So I'm going to go ahead and put the choices up. So pile number 1 is the comic. Pile number 2 is the empty room, and pile number 3 is the flame. So I'll go ahead and put those up there. If you haven't these are the actual choices. So if you haven't yet chosen your pile, now is a good time to do that. And even if you have, now is a time where we all like to just come together and have a moment of like full and complete silence, break all the rules of the internet, but just turn the gaze inwards and connect with that deep part of self, the observer, where everything calms down, the fear, the anxiety, the bluster, all of the mind's narratives about what's kind of going on that blocks you from just being in the moment, just receiving, just going through your life and allowing the experiences to kind of wash over you, to change you, and to kind of like be in that place. So if you're ready, I'm ready. You can close your eyes. I like to put my hands over my heart and just turn that gaze inwards. I like to start with a nice big deep breath and then exhale and just let that peter out into my normal breathing and just become aware of the breathing. Yeah, just let it go. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and welcome yourself back to the world, the land of the living, and be drawn into whatever pile or multiple piles you are drawn into. Maybe this person's learning a lot from you. You don't know. So, all right. Okay. If you're ready, I'm ready. If you aren't ready, you can go ahead and pause it here to keep looking at the screen. But let's go into pile number 1, the comic. Just living in a miracle. So for some of you, I feel like maybe you have been an entry point for this person to like their own spiritual path, their own spiritual journey. Just living in a miracle. Okay, so let me see, Spirit. For pile number 1, what is pile number 1 learning? Oh, okay, it is something from, because I'm seeing this person, like they might put on a brave face here, like where they kind of seem like everything is really happy, but I do think that there's something going on. Like when you look at this cat's like little face, you can see like the sad eyes. I just heard that Phil Collins song where he's like, such sad eyes, from Tarzan. So I feel like they put on this like happy face, maybe they crack jokes or something, but really there's like something going on kind of underneath, and they're recognizing that this is just a facade, and it is kind of a version of control. And I feel like this person maybe thought that they were genuinely happy, but they're realizing that it's like not necessarily, it's just like skin deep, and that they feel a different way kind of on the inside. And I feel like you've kind of helped this person like crack that in some kind of way. And I just heard becoming more real, but also there's this way that they are, this kind of like rigid where it's like, oh, hi, and they just kind of, this kind of a thing. It's very like rigid, and it's very blocking, because I'm seeing the 4 of Pentacles in my mind, and I saw it in the deck when I was kind of shuffling through. So that blockage over the heart chakra, the feet that are kind of like, stamped in place. And I'm also seeing like a block in the mind, like a big like cubed block. So it's just a familiar pattern is what I want to say, like for this person, that they've like in their neuro, circuitry, they've just kind of been rerunning certain patterns, certain thoughts and feelings and emotions. And it just kind of keeps them in some kind of holding pattern. But I think this person has seen you, and I heard it like living in a miracle. So this person has seen you kind of like living in a miracle or like walking on air. But I also feel like the way that you do that is not from this like put on the plastic smile and just feign happiness kind of place. It comes from like some kind of depth or some kind of real place. And like you stand up to like humanness, or like maybe they've seen you confront something like very human or something like that. And so it's moving them from that state of consciousness, that 4 of Pentacles, like very rigid, kind of mind energy, but like kind of very fearful, to like this collaboration energy, but it's also like under the mountain. So, for some of you, I just heard that you taught them they can go under the mountain, like under the blockage. They don't have to try to get through something that's not moving. There's a different way to kind of go, but maybe in order to do that, there's like some kind of teamwork, and that you might know the way. Like there might be a tunnel system or something underground, and you kind of like know the way. This person's kind of realized that, and it could even be because maybe for some of you, you've been in like a lesser position than this person. Because for some reason, it's making me think of like the Comanche tribe in America that has like a very interesting story, because before like the colonizers came over here, sorry, my throat chakra. There's like, there's like an interaction between like the Comanche and the Apache. So the Apache were like very strong, like well fed, because they could navigate the plains. And the plains, if you've ever been there, been to like, it's different now. Obviously we've got roads and most of it's cornfields and stuff, but if it was just plains, I mean, it's basically like a land sea. And you know how people get lost and turned around in the sea, like confusion is associated with Neptune and like that watery energy, but the plains is really like a land sea. There's no like landmarks, it's all just grass, and so you don't really know where the water source is, and it can be like very dangerous. Well, the Apache had a very good way of navigating that, and they'd kind of run off the Comanche they had to live at the base of like the Rocky Mountains, where the food sources were actually like very thinned out, and so they were like in smaller bodies and it's somewhat misshapen until the colonizers came over. Then the Spanish kind of released this, I'm going somewhere with this, like the horses. And that's when the Comanche got a hold of a couple horses, and they became these expert horse riders. And if you know anything about history, having the Spanish comment on the fact that you can really ride a horse means something. And so these people could really ride a horse, and even with them, they could turn, like on a dime. And not only that, but they learned how to like kind of shoot their arrows from the horse, which made them just an absolute force. And before the invention of the Colt revolver, the Americans were losing against the Comanche alone. That's one tribe here. They were pushing the Americans back like some 200 yards. And so I feel like there's something here like that, where you kind of represent this Comanche energy, where maybe something here that this person, and like maybe they're taking up the bigness or whatever, kind of relegated you off to like the Rocky Mountains, and maybe you couldn't get like certain nourishment, but then something has kind of come in and you've merged with it. And this could be a spiritual teaching or something, you've embraced it. And so that's what I'm saying is like, you kind of felt the way through, and maybe they've seen you go through a place that looked like weakness on the surface, but then you emerged stronger, in some kind of way. And it even could have to do with like tech, horses are kind of tech, that's kind of, maybe they blamed you for something, or, they didn't see something before, like your divinity, maybe in your softness or your sweetness or something like that, because I feel like this person uses humor as a shield. They don't want to be vulnerable. So I remember having this recognition like ages and ages and ages ago, where I was like, my personalities, I've always had like a really big, it used to be more so where I was just like very like, hey, like very big personality. And I always thought that was myself. But then I started to realize that it was actually just a big arm that like, I always thought that I was like friendly and approachable, but I realized it was control. It was like this big arm where I could kind of like maneuver people around, but I could do it without like being detected. And it wasn't for nefarious purposes. It was just it was control, it was just to make me feel kind of comfortable. And I remember having that realization earlier on. And then, you have to kind of, it's uncomfortable to like work into a more vulnerable part of yourself or something and allow that to shine through and like be a part of your humanity. And I feel like somehow you've done that, or you are doing that. And it's really changed this person. But there's something here where you've helped them see the innocence of something. And it's maybe in themselves, or maybe it's in you, or maybe it's in somebody else, but you've really helped them see the innocence of something. And it could have even been the innocence in an argument. This is reminding me of my husband and I were talking yesterday, and he said something like, well, because like animals are truly innocent, because there's no strategy behind it. And so I think something that you're helping this person to learn is that this like maybe animalistic like response here to defend, look, there's the horse. And routine. That there's some, okay, so you're like an opposite to this person in some kind of way. You show them like the entirely opposite way. And I think you got somewhere, or you're moving. They can see you like picking up speed that they wanted to go, and they thought that they knew the way, but their way was just like, this almost makes me, like when people do the weird baloney face where they like take, I don't know why people do this, but they like take baloney and then they kind of like cut the eyes out and like put it on their face or something. Like that's what this reminded me of. But it's like that, is the equivalent of what this person was doing and putting like a lot of like effort into, you know, and they're like, I'm happy, see, and it's not real happiness, but they're kind of clinging to it like it is. I don't know, but it's like you've shown them a different way, and you actually, they thought that was the way forward. They thought that that's what maybe spiritual teachings were talking about or something, and they've seen you actually make a lot of progress, but you represented some kind of opposite viewpoint, and maybe some of you come from a different place, or like literally and actually a different place, a different culture or something that has taught you something different. And then like the two of you are coming together. It's also like you could represent this person's shadow side, or you've embraced your shadow, because I'm seeing like in some chariot cards, you have like one black horse and one white horse. And so like one's the like illuminated self, and the other is the shadow self, the darkened self, that's still the self and still moving the carriage forward. So it's like, it's moving together in like, it's moving together, like the shadow self and the illuminated self or something. Or like you represent one of these, and you've brought in, for some of you, if this is like a team project or something, you've brought the necessary ingredient to kind of move things forward. And maybe this person was very much against nutmeg for whatever reason, but it ended up like being, you know, as a metaphor, it ended up being like kind of the way forward. And it's unearthed something, some kind of like judgment energy here. And that's like, again, what I'm seeing beneath this this cat, but it's also led to an opening, some kind of portal. And this person didn't like really realize that before. And again, they're recognizing the innocence of something, maybe in themselves, in some kind of interaction that the two of you have had. This might go back to like the thing that I read, you know, at the beginning. They're recognizing the innocence of it, even if it was like an argument, or it was, yeah, and this looks very Garden of Eden to me, but I think that maybe for a lot of you, you have changed, again, against the night sky here. And maybe you've stood strong against like some kind of Lilith energy, some kind of like strong temptational energy or something. Could have been really sexual here with this person. And this person could have been wanting to tempt you out of your place of like sovereignty in order to make themselves feel powerful or something, in order to kind of prove themselves right. And some of you have withstood something here, not that you were even necessarily meaning to, because I feel like there's an animal kind of innocence that's coming through here of like, there was no strategy. It was just instinct. I was just kind of defending myself or like whatever, you know, and there's an innocence to that. But you've, in the darkness, somehow, like this person maybe tried to keep you in the dark about something. Maybe it's about what they were feeling underneath. Like they were trying to keep you in the dark about something, but you've still like bloomed and transformed, and there's like your tree has like deep roots in it. And so this person's kind of like, they were kind of maybe in and out, or they were like in a very low vibrational energy, actually, even though I think they were putting like a smile on it. And they are now like kind of mystified, or that's what they're learning from you. That's something here that they're learning from you. And this reminds me of a reading that I got coming out, I think a while from now. But it was a reading centered around the word transfixed. So I feel like this person's like transfixed by your energy, because I think something might look very similar on the surface, but yours is fully integrated, and theirs is this like weird baloney on the face thing, you know? And so they are in that Four of Pentacles energy, but they've seen you be in the King of Cups energy. You've overcome some type of temptation, and maybe the temptation was them, or they were trying to throw some kind of spoke or obstacle in your way, or to see, even if it's like to bait you into your lower natures or something like that, but they were trying to throw something in your way. And so now they're just kind of like transfixed because of, something. And I feel like you could have brought this person an opportunity. Like there's some kind of temptation that you brought, but it was like also a lesson, but it's also the higher cup. Like if this person doesn't like fuck with you or mess with you or something like that. I feel like this person could have actually watched you and been like incensed by something, you know, and they felt really righteous, like in their mind. And like some kind of knowledge that they may have, but they still don't have the truth. Like with the King of Swords, that's one thing. The sword is like always kind of cocked off to the side because it's not put in context, you know. This could be a very cerebral person that just negates the other suits except for the air suit. So like the watery suit and I think this person acknowledges that like emotions exist, but this would be a person who is like, emotions are always lesser than intelligence. You know, it's not a certain kind of intelligence that you should learn how to work with and master. It's people who are emotional are less than me, who is cerebral. Like it feels like that kind of, energy. And this person was just kind of incensed because I feel like maybe you just kind of have like outstepped or outmaneuvered this person. And it feels like not like you weren't even really trying to do that. It also could be that there's some kind of like thing that they ruined. Like, you could have used your intuition to like pick up on something here and move away before something got bad, but maybe this person did not sidestep that because they weren't listening to their intuition, or they were just so stuck and they were so like rigid. But now they're seeing things differently. They're seeing that there was like a higher cup here that you were like bringing in. And they're realizing they need to shed a skin. That's something about, they've outgrown something here. Oh, and look, this is like the cat. Okay, so this is very past lives for me. So this innocent look, like this innocent facade, because this person like kind of does that, I think. It's got to go. Like it's an old skin. It's getting itchy. You know, they've got to shed that. And instead of being this like orange cat, they've got to be the smoky gray cat underneath, like for a while. They need to learn how to do that in order to kind of like progress and move on. For some of you, this is a group, like maybe a small group of people. They're really seeing your innocence. And how it led to some kind of like intuition, but it's a powerful energy because they were looking at it like it was really small. But there's also a karma here around control, like who has control or who's the leader, who's like dominant or something. And it's blowing this person's mind that so this person's still learning this, but they think that like you're in control, but actually it's not. Like spirit is in control. I feel like you've learned how to be just in harmony with spirit, and it's spirit that's like dominating, which is why you win. Like this is from this person's level of consciousness. I actually think that you've progressed in your level of consciousness, whereas this person's still on the same level of consciousness where you like originally met. And they're supposed to be kind of like looking at this through a different lens, and they are actually doing it. They're like recognizing that this was the higher cup. You've shown them the way here in something. About how to like get over like the lip, you know, remember in Moana where she has to get over the lip to like actually get out into the sea. You've shown this person like how to get over the lip, you know, and that could even be getting over some kind of speech or some kind of argument, because I think maybe for some of you, this person just replays something that you said, but they hear it wrong, and they hear it from their level of consciousness, and they don't own. Yeah, this kind of goes back to what I was saying. You know, they don't own that it's their level of consciousness that's making them relate to it, and they're running the same neurocircuitry in their brain, you know, of the same thoughts about it, the same feelings that they have about it. They don't want to look at it from a different perspective because it feels like a loss of control for this person, but your loss of control elevated you and it made you well, you know, and this person kind of doesn't want to let go of that because they feel like their sense of control is better than release, because their release is spirit's control and giving something over to spirit. And like, yeah, it's wisdom. There's a wisdom that this person is like right on the cusp of, that they can like really let come in here. Okay, anything else? Look, High Priestess and the Page of Cups. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot. Look, all this watery energy. It's like this person is trying to stab the water with this sword. And you know, water change is a shapeshifter energy. It does like shift and change. It's like forms and whatever. And so I'm getting like this person is like the owl. And I think that maybe they have some kind of air energy, that astuteness that I mentioned in my, and so they're looking at it and they're trying to kind of like stab at the water. Maybe they're trying to make you feel a certain way. They could be trying to hurt your feelings or something. Yeah, you've really evolved out of something here. So you're teaching this person how to get out of devil energy as well, and how to do like the long-term thing. I think we're kind of wrapping up here on this first one. Yeah, it's all this transformative energy, because I feel like there's a lot of blame. Like this person was trying to like blame a lot on you, and like with the swords, you know, and they could have, I don't know. It's like there's certain things that they've kind of noticed, you know, in that air owl kind of energy, but they haven't strung them all together, because if it doesn't actually point at you, whatever it is, it doesn't actually point at you. It doesn't actually like come together in the way that they think it comes together. But when this person taps into when they tried to offer you their cup, I feel like it was like poisoned here, you know, or there was like a fantasy to it, because things weren't like, because this is like a smart person, but they only accept the logic of the mind. And there's something about this, it's not cohesive. It's not holistic. It's not well-rounded. And so when they actually start to string the beads onto the necklace, like one at a time, to like, it looks very, very different, but they have to, I think, embrace the watery kind of suit the emotions and the validness of emotions. And like, in order to round that out, in order for that to be, and I'm even getting like the hormonal system, like there's something here, the waters of the body, like the water, like that like affects certain things as well. For some of you, there could have been some competitiveness here. like you getting ahead in your career or something, and this person was trying to like fight you in order to like get ahead or like beat you in like your career or something. I don't think that's, I think you just separated out or like went independent here in some way. This person is kind of all about control. And it comes from a place of anxiety, and it's just blocking the light. Like it's been blocking the light. And so this person has really misunderstood a lot. And what they're learning is that you've had a new beginning, and it's like very stable, and there's boundaries around your new beginning, and that's like good and healthy. And so I think they've had to detach from you, or they will be doing that very soon. And then they're going to turn around and kind of hang their head in shame. But that is kind of starting to look inward, but it's also getting them to look at the ground, like the soil that they've been trying to plant in is like hard and rocky, or they've been trying to plant the wrong seeds in the wrong soil, or they've been watering it incorrectly or something like that. Like they're actually looking at like their hoof meets the ground kind of energy. That's what this is doing. And they're realizing that they have to go independent of you, because what they thought was a problem between like the two of you, and that they need to change you and focus on changing you and outdo you and everything, like is really just a problem with themselves. Like if whatever change they want to bring about, it's just a problem with themselves. And, that's what they're learning, and that they need to have like their own new beginning and kind of like nurture that from the ground up and tend their own seed and be independent for a while, is another thing too. Like, and that is, they're going to start, we're really working through a karmic block, but I think you've taught them something about how to do that, where you don't have to keep beating your head against the karmic rock. Like you can go under it, and part of the way that you can get like around it in some way, maybe it's not under, maybe it's like around, is somehow like through teamwork. And sometimes like you'll have a divine act, like, but just having a cooperative energy about you brings in some kind of divine accident energy that can sometimes push the metric. And a lot of times that'll come through other people, where because you have a cooperative nature to them and not this weird combative nature, they might just say the right thing, you know, that you didn't look at it, but they come from a different culture than you or a different background, and they just, you know, bring in the right thing. And you're like, I've never had nutmeg like this before. Like, you know, and it brings it all to life, because from their culture, they really know how to use it. They really know how to use nutmeg. I like nutmeg. I don't know why I'm bringing this up, you know, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, because it's a strong flavor that maybe, you know, it's like if you haven't had it in the right thing, but that culture really loves nutmeg. And so because it's that love energy where they know how to work with it and have a teamwork with nutmeg. And so when they infuse it in their dishes, you can taste the love. Whereas like when you just try to sprinkle a little nutmeg in and you're like, I don't know what to do with you, you know, and it's just like, it's different. It's like a different energy. And I feel like that's really it. So you've taught them something about cooperation and teamwork and the magic like therein, and I just heard that quote from the Bible where Jesus says, like, where two of you are gathered in my name, there I am also. So it's like, and Jesus' name is like love, you know, forgiveness, compassion. So that cooperation energy, then that's like that divine spark that comes in kind of like an accident, or like it surprises you, or like seems to come out of nowhere. And together you can like be like, oh my gosh, we can just go over here. I found a passageway, you know, but it's like teamwork makes the dream work kind of a thing. So you've taught this person, or you're helping to teach this, like just shift their entire consciousness over. And maybe even something about like the nervous system, you know, moving from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system, getting out of that fight, flight, or freeze mode, and just allowing yourself to kind of like calm down, relax, and receive, and be cooperative, and receive from the world and give to the world, and just be in that kind of like, you know, cooperative, alive, juicy energy. And it's working through some kind of karmic block. But I think you've also put an end to this cycle, at least like for yourself. And I think what you've learned, and maybe again what you're teaching them, is that you didn't need them to do anything. You know, you just kind of learned how to put an end to the cycle yourself. You've dealt with your own karmas here. You've seen the truth. Maybe you've had a change of pace, change of place here, just within yourself. And it also could be that you relied on yourself, because this person maybe does try to keep you needy in some way, or they try to play upon fears of like you losing them or something. And I think you were like, if you must go, go. Like, I'm not trying to cling on to you, or like, you know, that's not the right energy for us to be in anyways. So if you need to go, then you can go, you know, and just like, I release you in love. I think I said that so yeah. Okay. That is pile number 1. So I'm just going to put this up here in case you're just joining us. You've joined us at a really good time. We, just finished pile number 1. We're moving on to pile number 2, which is the empty room. Have a little drinky poo. Yes. Emotions are like instincts, basically. It's pre-thought. The nutmeg. Oh, okay. Lola says the nutmeg. Oh my God, so relatable. I've been really scared through the use of it on cauliflower. Can't wait to meet these folks that know what to do with it. I've never heard of nutmeg on cauliflower. That's interesting. All right, compassion. With this compassion thing, like that's something too, because I feel like a big part of my challenge just as a soul is to like live authentically in front of people, like really just like allow it to show. And I get really nervous because I'm not perfect, and this could be I'm in between readings right now, so it could be for either pile number 1 or 2. Take this however it resonates, but it's like I'm very like moral and very principled, and so it can lead me to this kind of rigid thinking where I'm like, well, if you're not perfect, and therefore that you're automatically like hurting people if you're doing something and you're not perfect at it. But how do you ever learn and grow? And I think one of the things that being on this channel has taught me is that I have been imperfect like from day one. Like I have definitely like brought my full humanness. I admit wholeheartedly I'm not a spiritual teacher. I'm not I really, like I said, I believe that we're all kind of psychic here. Just because people can do this work, I don't think means that you're necessarily spiritually advanced or anything. But I know what I'm good at is being a student. And I think that that's where the power really lies with me, is just being a student in front of people and just showing that I'm trying to actually work with the material. And I am really trying to like learn, and just watching my own growth and progress, like the way that I've kind of morphed and shifted and changed, I actually think is very helpful, and possibly more helpful to certain people at certain points in their journey than listening to like a teacher or a guru or a sage or somebody who has really mastered a lot of these things already. And yeah, so there we go. Do no harm, take no ish, keep it goofy. Okay, so if you are ready, then I am ready. Let us go to pile number 2, the empty room. Okay, so so this happened, I don't know if it was the week before, or it happens from time to time where for some reason I start channeling, like it's been the night before, like the readings. It's like right before I go to bed. And so I just get my notes app out and I just kind of like type away. So I printed it out, and just in case like I needed to reference it for anything. I've done that for like ever, but I've never really like needed to reference it. And maybe I don't, but like, okay, so what's coming through here? Okay, so I am definitely getting like a guide energy. I feel like what this person is learning from you is like guides. So, and I think it just starts that like they exist, like guides exist in some way, or that there's like somehow, maybe for some of you, this person's like very isolated, or they're in like an empty room, but they're learning that they're not alone, that there's like guides out there that they can really connect with. And I feel like that's actually hooking them up to some kind of like very loving, compassionate kind of energy that is showing them that like even when they think that they're alone, they're not alone. Yeah, I just heard, you are not alone. I am here with you. Yeah, though you're far away, I am here to stay. You are not alone. So yeah, I feel like it also could be that like you're here to stay, and that they are not alone. So actually, maybe I'm not going to read from this in this pile. We'll just see what wants to come through. So you are teaching them something about love, this person. Healing. And wedding is at the bottom of the deck. So it's like maybe even healing from love, or like somebody that they were married to, like wedding energy, somebody that they thought was like their forever person. You're helping them to heal from lust. I want to say like from lust, and to find and connect with like the energy of home, and that they are their own home, and that it's not outside of themselves. Yeah. Toxic relationship, fighting, codependent, misunderstanding, and trigger. Okay. So this relationship that they thought was some kind of like forever union or something, or something here, it really was just a trigger, but I'm getting like Ace of Wands energy. Like it's a dharmic kind of trigger. And this came out in one of the readings, that will come out on the channel eventually. But it was, they said at the end that they wanted you to start reconsidering what a twin flame activation is. And then I heard, Esther Perel, who says, throughout history, she's Esther Perel, if you don't know, she's a psychologist, and she works on relationships, especially like healing through an affair. So there could have been like an affair here. But she starts off her TED Talk speech saying something like, throughout history, the soulmate has always been known to be God. Like the soulmate is not another person, but God lives within each of us. So it's kind of abstract, but the soulmate has always been known to be God. And that reminded me of, I'm going to go like a little bit off road here. But just to make a point here, just indulge me for a second. So Okay, so you could be helping them put like certain things together and maybe even like layering it up, which is like leading them to off-road a bit, but it's their path and like it's kind of looping them back around. So that is reminding me of Jesus Christ, superstar. You know the guy, right? Jesus. And so there's a lot of astrological symbolism in the Bible. And so when I started really learning about astrology, I was like, I don't know what I thought I was reading in the Bible before, but I started to kind of really connect like, oh, this is the journey of the sun. The Son of God, S-O-N, Jesus, like is the journey of the sun, like in the universe, the atum, which is that like kind of soul energy, this like forever rejuvenating energy. And I say that because there's certain places in the zodiac that really is like denoted by the sun. Jesus is born in a manger. That is Uttara Ashada energy, which is the height of the sun, and its symbolism is a shitty bed. So and Jesus is such an Ashwini figure, which is where the sun exalts. And Ashwini is a twin energy. And I just remember thinking like Jesus has to be a twin. And there's so many writings and stuff on Jesus. There's really a version of Jesus for everybody, because he meets you on the path where you are. But I was like, I wonder if there's any like mention of Jesus ever being a twin. And lo and behold, I found that there was a quote, I'm getting goosebumps now, in I believe it was the Gospel of Thomas, but it was one of like the Gnostic Gospels, the more esoteric teachings of Jesus, where he said, drink from my mouth and become like my twin. And so Jesus was a rabbi, right? Like he was a spiritual teacher. And so drink from my mouth and become like my twin. So your guide, I'm getting goosebumps. Your guide is your twin. Spiritual teachers are your twin. Right. And so this person, this like love energy here that like really sparks some kind of crisis of faith within you or within this person. This crisis of faith actually was it's like a lighter that's like lit the fuse that's like led you to your guide, to your spirit guides. And you have helped somebody realize that it's a path forward. It's not devastating. It's a tower moment here. Oh, here we go. And then we're going to start to connect into that. It's, and I'm seeing the tower card, but it's like, you had built something here, like a whole theology I just heard on the mind energy built around this person or this relationship is my other half or is my twin when it was your spirit guide all along. Drink from my mouth and become like me, become my twin. And a twin is something that you become. It is something that you naturally are, which is the feminine energy, but it's something that through your actions, karma means action and purifying your karmas, it's something that you become. And so you're taking very purifying actions, or you're giving, I just heard somebody say in my mind, the hope of the world, the hope, the truth, and the light. You are the hope, the truth, and the light. And so and this could be a person that you've had this experience with, where it's like very intense, but maybe also toxic and like very alluring or very lustful, like between the two of you. But, and so there's like this kind of preoccupation like here in this space, but it's led you to this like kind of bigger fuse that's led you on a spiritual path and to the divine. And the other thing that I've kind of realized here in the last week is that not every life is inherently a spiritual school. So we're all learning things, but it very much is at different paces. And there's a lot of different reasons why souls come to life, into earth, to have certain experiences and, that are embodied, and you can have different physical sensations and everything. And so to be on a spiritual path, like consciously, is all of the lessons that you're learning, like really fuel that. You really take that on and you can move forward like really, really quickly, but it's intense, And so I feel like for a lot of you, at least like there's been a segment of your journey where you've really done that. And so the lessons, you're learning lessons like kind of on a different level, and you are becoming more and more like your guide or your twin, like your twin in that sense, but it's like it's an elevation that's kind of, occurring, but it's come through a tower moment, something that really spooked you or really shocked you or really rocked you. And that was because it was built on an improper foundation, a rocky foundation is what I'm hearing. And so you had to get to the root of it. You had to get to the foundation, and the foundation was some kind of fact that you had taken to be true that was in fact not true, but you built upon it. And you're not wrong for doing this. This is how we learn. So it was like very shocking, but it made you kind of get back to the drawing board. But your guides could actually work with you from there. But okay, so that's where I want to like move over to what I was talking about. Okay, so this might not make sense because I just kind of typed it out, but okay, so I wrote victim, rescuer, persecutor, and then in parentheses I wrote like a narrative energy. So some kind of narrative, the story that you were telling about this and what it meant. And it started off like from the wrong place. And so you were trying to kind of rev your wheels here, but you couldn't really get anywhere. And then I put plus fear. So it's that victim, rescuer, persecutor. So you have this narrative in your mind, but plus the fear energy. So this narrative was really born from a place of fear. And I don't know exactly what the fear is about, but that, so then fear brings confusion, especially of what is helpful and what isn't. Fear has you blaming the one who has come to set you free and misunderstanding their actions and praising what keeps you sick, weak, and small, but familiar and comfortable. So this entire thing that you've lived through with this person, this is what it's helping them to kind of realize on a deeper level. But this almost feels like below cognition. This feels in the subconscious mind. This feels like there's something here in the it's a fear that is in the shadow. It's a fear that's like pushed down into the subconscious that they're very much creating from and that you are creating from. And that creation actually led you to each other. And each of you are each other's teachers. And you are in a way like the soulmate. You are in a way that ignition that leads the person to their actual twin flame, to the, which is the God energy, the soul energy, the guide energy. And I just heard the quote that says, if you meet Buddha on the road, kill him. You know, it's a metaphorical energy, but it's like you grow beyond it. Like whenever you think you've got everything figured out, like there's always like more. It's like ever expanding kind of a thing. Okay, so it says, because to rise above a certain cycle, pattern, mindset, you have to confront the fear that underpins it. And fear can look a lot of ways. It can look like a recognizable cowardice. It can look like virtue signaling to fit in. It can look unbothered. I think somehow here the fear is mixed with vanity though. Okay, and this is coming out in one of the readings too, and I don't know if it's already come out or not, but there was a reading about vanity and pride, and it was like centered around the Jane Austen quote where she says, you know, pride is the way that we feel about ourselves. Vanity is the way that we feel about how other people feel about us. So vanity is somehow mixed with the fear energy. It's the fear energy is what's giving rise to vanity energy. And I think that somehow this relationship or the way that you were navigating in this relationship somehow had to do with like vanity and the way that you feel others are looking at you. And then that kind of governing the way that you feel yourself, or like that's what this person is also going through. Cause it feels like there's maybe a mirroring energy here. So, I heard in this light, you're not wrong that this person is your mirror and your soulmate and your like twin flame and everything like that. But there's like, I just heard, bring me a higher love. Oh, and that higher love is like, I don't need anything from you. And that who loves you like that? God. Who loves you like that? Your spirit guide loves you like that, right? Okay, so it says vanity as a shield. Vanity has somehow become a focus as a form of self-preservation that again all has its root in fear. It becomes the middleman, the linchpin to something like respect or positioning that we think we need to keep ourselves safe. So we put our focus on vanity. I must maintain my vanity in order to preserve myself and keep myself safe instead of feeling okay if you can just see me like for who I really am. So for some of you, I feel like this person or you or both of you, it's like, okay, well, this is my like divine twin soulmate, but I feel like I have to put on a little show for them. I can't let them see my real self, you know? And if you can't show your divine soulmate your real self, I mean, why? Like there's karmas there. If this is truly your divine soulmate. And I don't think that you're really wrong about this. I think that maybe the two of you are like rising up together, maybe in a parallel, I just heard parallel universe, like just in this kind of parallel energy here. But so this has like what you've taught is something about focus. Like the focus shouldn't be on vanity, especially like in some kind of divine relationship. And that vanity is not always coming from like a shallow or superficial place. Sometimes it's easier to focus on like the shallow and the superficial. It doesn't feel like it threatens us so much in the moment because like when you dig like really deep down, that can feel very frightening, you know, because you're in the void, you're into the unknown. You're like, if I start poking around here, like what's going to really happen? But that's how real change kind of comes in. So, okay, it says, vanity becomes the middleman, the linchpin to something like respect, the gate, right? Like the gatekeeper to something like respect or a certain kind of social positioning that we think that we need to keep and maintain in order to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves unseen and undetected for the inferior or the fraud we believe ourselves to be. And so I think that's maybe for some of this is like overlapping with pile number one, where maybe it feels like pile number one is like an initial energy or something. This is like, but this is also more specific, I don't know, to like a romantic connection here or something. So, okay, so it says, so you have to see and confront the fear, anxiety responses and be able to detect that, oh, what I'm seeing, this is a fear, anxiety response. Because I feel like you or them like didn't want to look beneath it because you didn't want to admit that this was an anxiety response because I think it made you feel like maybe this isn't real. But it is real precisely because you're bringing up the anxiety that's there, but we just have to like look at it. Cause I think there's like a narrative here of like, well, if this is all built, like if there's a fantasy in my mind, cause I do think that there's a fantasy playing out here, or trying to maintain the fantasy of yourself, you know, so that this person will choose you or like you or find you attractive or lust after you or long for you, pine for you, you know, admitting that all is born of fear and anxiety doesn't mean that this was all fake. It's actually the path forward, dealing with that it's popping the fantasy is what is going to lead you to actual like merging with this person, with to being able to show your real self. And then you can actually have love here between you, like, you know, that kind of a thing. So, so you have to see and confront the fear, anxiety response that you've been clinging onto in order to see the variable, the linchpin, the smoking gun that you have been avoiding clearly. And then here I was like, oh, it was like an aha moment, like, oh, don't follow it. And where that came from for me, and I think that I've told this story before, but I didn't realize like my whole life, thank you to you guys, has been just like a miracle, just like a string of miracles where I can see like the different dots that like they were always trying to connect for me and for us. And so that we can all kind of like put this together. But one major one, when I was a kid, I grew up on a lake, and one time I was in elementary school. I was in like 5th grade or something. So I had like, I knew where my house was and like what was around my house and things. But I grew up in kind of a wealthy neighborhood. I was not wealthy, but I was surrounded by wealthy people. That's kind of like a thing that has played out in my life for some karmic reason that I have yet to understand. But so one of my friends who his dad had like a plane, or yeah, it was like a personal plane, I think, or maybe it was a helicopter, but something like that. So he was like flying around, I guess. And he was like, Jess, there is a waterfall by your house. And I was like, no, there's not. Like, I live there. Where would it be? And I was so confused by that. And he was like, go here. And I knew what he was talking about. And he was like, and then follow the river. And so I was like, okay. So I went there and I followed the river, and I was a child and dumb. And I didn't really put it together that like, okay, a waterfall is going to push the water away from itself. So me and my friends that like went to go look for this is for like years this went on. We would just go out there sometimes to just like explore around, because it was like this big wooded area and you could walk for hours and hours and hours. And so we would like follow the river, but we were following it away from the waterfall. And the furthest that we ever went, there was this gigantic pricker bush. And to keep following the river, there was really like no way around the pricker bush. And so like we had to climb through like the thorns and stuff. And I was getting like all cut up, and I was like the first one through, and I got through, and I was like, great, I got to go like back through that. And I was like, I'm going to get into the river. And then I was like, maybe I shouldn't get into it. You know, it was like a whole thing. And so we decided not to, after that trip, we decided not to go back for a while. And then I went back in middle school with one of my friends. We were bored one day, and I was like, yeah, they say that there's this waterfall. And so like we went out there, and it clicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, the waterfall would obviously be that way. Duh, dumb. So it was not even that far, like going in that direction, which I feel like there's a spiritual lesson there. And that's something that like they're learning from you. Like if you know what you're looking at and like how to put the pieces together in front of you, what seems like a long, arduous journey is like really just a hop, skip, and a jump. So the key there, like what I was saying, is like, don't follow it. And the watery energy is like the emotional energy. So there's something, the waterfall is a kind of motion, right? It's putting that watery energy, that emotional energy is pushing something in motion. And the key is not to follow it. The key is to stop and to turn and to look at the source and to figure out where it's coming from. And in my case, it was something beautiful. And I feel like there's something here to do with like the fear. I don't want to be seen for whatever. Because have you ever noticed this? And if you haven't noticed this in yourself, I know you've noticed it in at least one other person, where the thing that they're like, I'm different and weird and a freak. And then like they finally let you see it, and you're like, this is literally the coolest thing I've ever seen. This is, yeah, you are different. It's a good different. It's a good different. Like this is powerful. It's magic almost. It's like kind of this magical quality. So I feel like that's another thing that they're learning here is like the key is not to follow it, but to turn and to see. It's also what Ramana, oh my gosh, my teacher, he talks about the movie projector example, where the movie projector sits at the back of the theater and it's projecting an image all over the screen. And the key is not to get swept up into the image, into the fantasy, into the illusion of life, and instead to look at the projector, which is the mind and the emotions and the body and like the, you know, inner in the feelings and everything that's all around you, and to see how that's creating this thing that's playing out in front of you. And it's less objective than you think it is. I'm going to say that again. It's less objective than you think it is what this person's learning from you. And somehow, like, you know, in your connection, in your relationship, or this is things that you've tried to kind of like, you know, outline from this person. So the next thing is in that little journey. Okay. So we found the waterfall, and there was posted signs like all around it that, you know, posted private property kind of thing. Don't go over here, but I'm looking at a waterfall. I'm not going over there, you know? So, we definitely like walked past the posted signs, the posted signs. And, we climbed up like beside the waterfall, and then we were like on an entire property, and we could see the pond that was feeding the waterfall, the source, right? And we were stupid kids. So we were like walking around there, and, my friend kicked a canoe into the water. He was a guy and they do stuff like that. And so I was like, don't do that. Like, and then like an old man that was his property came out of nowhere and was like screaming and yelling at us. And so the conversation that we were all having, we were all scared. And I kind of realized that now because I realized sort of later that I think there was animal traps down there. And I think that's, maybe there was signs even posted or something, but I think that was why he freaked out the way that he did, is because he was so disoriented and confused. Like, where did you come from? There's these kids. I have these animal traps, because he was like, get off my property. And we went to walk back towards the woods and he said, don't go that way. And he was so adamant that we not go that way. But there was like kind of no getting through to him. And my friend had already kicked the canoe into the pond, because if he hadn't have done that, I would have been like, we come in peace. Like, I would have just like walked over. But because my friend had already signaled that he was an a-hole and I'm standing there by proximity, I was like, the best thing that we can do is just do what he says, because how far away can we really be from home? Well, let me tell you, we were very far away from home. And I think that's another thing that that this person is learning, because I think there was an experience that this person did, and it may have had to do with like lust or healing or being alone, or like that they've had to be alone or something here, where they couldn't go back the way they came with you. And they didn't realize that. They thought, oh, I'm just going to climb up on this. And they saw the posted signs, the private property. So especially like, I don't know if this was a cheating situation. It's like, either you guys were in a relationship, they knew that they weren't supposed to go beyond there, or like whoever they cheated with was in a relationship, or maybe they got involved with somebody before they met you or something here. They knew that it was private property. And so that was enough. That's all they needed to know in order for them not to go beyond there. They didn't realize that there was traps though. So really, truly, like, you can't go back the way that you came, because there's other dangers that you didn't realize that. And so I think another thing that this person is learning from you, and this has to do with Venus, because Venus is one of the spiritual teachers. Venus and Jupiter are the spiritual teachers. Well, what Venus teaches us is how to navigate through life and how to trust that and how to build self-esteem. And the way that you do that is by having principles and values that you do not deviate from. Because I think this person is a bit selfish, or they're a bit in devil energy of, I want this for the moment. And they don't really think about the long-term thing here. But what Venus teaches us is that what's good for everybody and adhering to your principles is good for you in the long term. It leads you out to the long-term things. I think this person just thought something would be easy, or they thought that I'm just going to go like, explore this really quick, and then I'm going to be able to come back the way that they came. So I know that that's only getting down that waterfall is going to take me 2 minutes, especially if I'm booking it. Well, that's not what happened. Okay. Cause we had to go out. We were like, let's figure out where we are. And we were on a country highway, and we had to walk forever down this highway. And my friend, thank God, knew where we were, because his mom lived down somewhere, and we had to take an exit. And by the way, it was 50 highway, which, gets down to a 5, which is a number of like conflict and strife. And then we got off on 7 highway, which 7 is the number of spiritual perfection. So we had to walk a long ways down 7 highway. And then it was miraculous timing, because my mom just happened to be coming home from the store. I mean, this took hours for us to get home. Okay. Like hours. And this was back in the day. I lived in a relatively safe area. My parents didn't really keep track of me. So, but we were coming home, and I see my mom's car, and I'm like, we're trying to like flag her down, and she just pulls over, and we come running up, and she was like, is that my child? Like, walking down, huh? And she was like, what on earth happened? And, we explained everything, but it just took so long. So I think part of what this person's realizing is that, things that seem very close together can actually be very far apart. Like, once you cross a certain threshold, and to get back to where you were, actually, you've got to go the long way round. And you got to go through the conflict and strife. And then you got to take the exit to go down the spiritual perfection lane. And then spirit, at the end of that journey, there just might happen to be some kind of miraculous mom moment where she comes back with a snack you can have as she takes you the rest of the way home, And there you had this kind of very confusing experience that you just didn't really know what to do with, but you found the thing that you kind of wanted your whole life, So they learned a couple of things from that. Like I said, there's something about like, it looks like it's really, really close together, and this isn't too far away, but there's a lot of like pitfalls and stuff that you didn't quite realize was there. And so that could be the person that they involved with. They're trying to trap them, or like, kind of thing. And so now they got blackmail on them or something like that, or this person, I think they thought that they could just, but instead it's like learning how to explore where it's kind of coming from. So, yeah, you can't go back the way that you came. So whatever this fear variable is that is actually causing quite a bit of distortion, it's the cornerstone. And a cornerstone is like, well, actually, I don't know if it's the first stone that you put down, but I think it is a lot when you're building. Like, you put that down and then you just start building from there. It's like the bottom, And that is the key to unraveling it all. This tower that was built on the wrong foundation. So like figuring out what the cornerstone is, it is the cause of the confusion in the mind. So please know that like whatever experience, I feel like this is a mirrored energy between you and this person, whatever you're learning from them and they're learning from you, it's not just specific to this situation. You're learning a lot more about life and about how your mind works and how to navigate your mind. And this is God. It's God coming in to meet you where you are, to illuminate the functioning dysfunction. There's some way that this functions, but because the fear is merged with it, rivaling your other teacher, fear is much more than just fear. You got to go layers down to realize, oh, this is just fear. And not to worry, because worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. I won't be made useless. That's a Jewel song. Won't be idle with despair. Yeah. So, but I feel like however you're relating to fear, there's a narrative. So you call fear by a different name and by multiple different names, because fear in this instance has become your teacher. And so it tells you that it's righteousness and that it's defensiveness and that the strategy is really, it's just that it's strategy and you got to do this, but you don't realize that fear is also this other person's teacher and it's telling them the same thing, but it's not cohesive. And so you are at odds with each other. And that's why it's like you got to walk all the way around. You got to unpack this thing in the mind here in order to kind of get back to some kind of, it sets forces in motion that are in opposition to each other. Fear sets forces in motion that are in opposition to each other, each in their own cloud of confusion. And I was seeing the Seven of Cups when that came through. The Venus energy gets polluted, polarized, and politicized. So Venus is one of the spiritual teachers, but Seven of Cups energy is Venus in Scorpio. And so there's something about like, okay, I'm in a fearful energy, but I'm also masking it. I'm masking the fear. And I want you to think that I'm, strategic or I'm thoughtful, like whatever the strategy is. I feel like that gets called a different name too. Like, well, I'm very thoughtful, I'm very observant. I don't rush into things, but it's like, it would be so much more helpful for this person on their spiritual journey to say, that's the pattern. You mapped your fear pattern. So you're helping this person map their fear pattern. I'm afraid. I'm not strategic. I'm not observant. I'm afraid. And it's not that there's not a place for those things, because that's how fear kind of blocks it, where it's like, so what are you saying? That's not what I said. I said that in this instance, the Venus energy, the relationship energy, that we need to have a talk or balance certain things out here, take a karmic correcting, like, well, what is that karmic correcting thing? Well, you're too strategic, and strategic is merged with your own self-preservation, which I kind of talked about in the thing that I was reading, and in preserving the self, we lost other things. We lost objectivity. We lost love. We lost grace. We lost patience. We lost forgiveness. And those are very clarifying emotions, So, the Venus energy is what gets polluted. And Venus, again, is a spiritual teacher. So like your spiritual teacher's voice gets polluted and it cannot balance itself out. And any attempts to balance itself out from that like very splintered place it's rooted in, it's underpinned in fear, either fear of the self, fear of the other, fear of the unknown. So the attempts to correct from that place, even though it's kind of well-intentioned, it can feel very extreme and very jolting to whoever's like on the receiving end, because I actually feel like your fears are talking to each other. And you might not have realized that this person brought out a kind of fear of you, fear of like inadequacy. It's like, you're just screaming at me that I'm inadequate. And like, and this person's like, and then I feel like you're telling me that I'm inadequate. And because there's some kind of cycle that's like really been going. And so to stop this cycle, it's like both of your fears have been talking to each other and you're both being kind of strategic, and really the truth and the vulnerability is not able to kind of come out. Because you're doing two things. You're hiding still. This is strategy, right? Like you're hiding and you're still cloaked and you're veiling yourself, but you're also trying to be strategic and you're looking out and you're trying to figure out what the truth is, but they're doing the same thing. And so you're both like, let me just see what they are first, and they're doing the same thing. And you guys are like, I can't really read you. And that makes me not trust you. And I think you're a bitch, it's like, things like that. And so somebody really has to be like, hey, I'm just a person, something like that. So, so the karmas here can't like balance itself out, or the conversation that you need to have can't balance itself out, because everybody's trying to hold on to power and control. And they're doing that through like a guise or a shield or something like that. So any attempts feel extreme and jolting, or they contradict with the stated goal or the past behavior. So the words and the actions are not in alignment, because it's like, well, I want to make peace with you. And it's like, then why are you sneaking around? Something here like that. So, which then stokes more fear, and around you go. So I think that is the end. I have more that's written here, but it kind of like got broken up. Maybe it's for pile number 3, what wants to come out like for the rest of it. But I just heard dancing through life. Na 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 na. Where's my baloney mask? Yo. Yeah, so you're teaching this person like how to heal. And possibly like through being alone and connecting with their guides, like facing their void energy or getting it, like jumping into the void, because the void can be this like really extreme place of power where it's like, well, now I don't know how things are going to turn out. And that can be exhilarating, because I'm being vulnerable and I'm just opening myself up and I'm telling you all about my fears and I'm just telling you that I feel inadequate and that's why I didn't give you what you needed. Or like, yeah, toxic relationship, fated meeting. So this was definitely a fated meeting. And I feel like this was the spark and the ignition to align you with your twin flame. And for some of you, there's a confusion here because I just heard, okay, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but like confusing your twin flame for like a person that you feel lust for is an exact microcosm of the two teachers teaching at the same time. Because you think that just because fear is kind of mixed up into it. And so there's like emerging with like a kind of fantasy of, I don't know, whatever the narrative is, like there's kind of merging with it. But then the fantasy means that you can still stay shielded. Like you're not kind of merging with the reality. So it kind of, I don't know, the fear is what has that kind of confused and have you not realizing that like the twin flame is your spirit guide and like your, and that this person I think was the spark or the ignition. It was the twin flame activation. This person, oh, okay. So there's also a misunderstanding of like, this person was the activator to like your twin flame journey or like your spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, but they were the activator. And ultimately we are all God, like in body. So yeah, like, and yeah, there's romantic feelings here. There's like emotions. Yeah. And this has something to do with like confidence, having bravery and confidence, and maybe even like odd behavior. Maybe you're both displaying odd behavior that you both kind of can't realize. And it may even had to do with like drinking. Like I'm drinking because I feel nervous and then my inhibitions are, I don't know. And then, so finances, there could be, money problems, work, material things, success, alone, isolated, lonely, and soulmate energy. So I feel like there's certain things here that, again, they're obstacles on the path to like building up some kind of vulnerability or like confidence around like maybe an odd behavior. So now there's like maybe unfinished business. Then there's also that magnetic pull, and that is pulling you towards like your own spiritual journey, because it is like this person's your teacher in a way. I don't know. I have no idea what these words even mean anymore, because I'm like, okay, they're like, well, this person is kind of your guide. They are kind of your spirit guide. So maybe it is your twin flame, but it's not in the way that you think about it or something. I don't know. That's like an incomplete thought, but there's unfinished business here. There's a magnetic pull to fix it. And that's like kind of pulling you actually towards your guides. And it might even be pulling you towards your guides by way of being alone in some way and sitting in the void and dealing with the void instead of trying to like cover it up through strategy and like, because it's odd behavior. And I'm not saying like strategy, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it's like, there's a strategy as like being a human being, there's a strategy of the way that I'm going to be a human being. And it doesn't include vulnerability, and it doesn't include honesty. And it doesn't include, I'm going to put myself forward in this kind of way, because that's how I think I'm going to get what I want. That's embodying the teachings of fear. Okay. Okay, I feel like that's pile number 2. It's like a deep one. And I feel like the teaching here, like what is this person learning from you? This is subconscious. This is like, it's like through a knowing, through an experience here. It's been very experiential, like of the body. And then it's coming up from like that, the body and the emotions and the experience up to the mind is the way that you're teaching this person and that they're teaching you. So, okay, that is pile number 2. And I'm just going to put this up here in case you are just joining us. Dancing through life. We all agreed to help each other, yeah. Okay. So we'll just leave that there. I'm going to compassion this space. Compassion. Just got done with therapy, hopping in. Welcome. Okay. A little lip gloss to get pile number 3 popping. Thanks for the reading. You're welcome. It's so funny. Okay, so Light of Love keeps mentioning Wicked, and Wicked actually came out a lot. Oh, and that Dancing Through Life. Yeah, in like what I didn't read to you guys. So maybe that's wanting to come out in pile number 3, but we'll have to see. The empty room does look like the void. Okay, so on to pile number 3, the flame. Okay. Okay. Well, I kind of feel like I want to start here with this, like, just because, yeah. Okay. We'll see, like, if this kicks us off and gets us going. Okay. Okay. So I feel like this person, they were alone, but this is different than the pile number 2, alone, that felt more like in the void and like things are kind of like, open. It feels like, in pile number 2, it was like, well, I spent a lot of time in my room or something, my mind can kind of like wander or maybe even like go and connect with my guides that I don't even realize that's happening, kind of thing. This feels like somebody here was like alone in an experience where they were really, really under pressure. Under pressure. Pushing down on me. Yeah. So they felt alone in their experience. And it was because there was just like a lot of maybe expectation or pressure on them. And it feels like maybe there was a lot of like blame is what I want to say. And that leads us here because, okay, so it says, and this, again, this came from Alex Puckett yesterday. That's why I started writing this part down because he said this and I was like, oh, I don't want to forget that. So demonization is negative worship. And then I added jealousy is warped admiration. And that's come through in the messages a lot. So these kind of like negative things, it feels like it goes through like a fractal, like a prism or something. When the light goes through the prism and it bends and it becomes like a color or something. So it feels like there's a pure energy that's like coming through. And the pure energy would be, again, like worship, devotion, which is, by the way, the most powerful energy in the universe. And then you have like, again, admiration, but it goes through this like warped prism fractal lens, and then it gets like perverted into these energies like demonization and jealousy. And so I feel like this person like had to deal with this in some way. And maybe you were a part of this, or maybe you have helped this person climb out of this in some way, like through your example or through your words, like through some kind of like advice that you were able to give this person to help them reorient their experience. But I really think this person felt blamed. And I think they thought that that was because wicked. Oh my gosh, because they were like wicked, or like what is truly wicked? That's kind of like what this, yeah. Because I started realizing like, oh my gosh, this is all like kind of tied into wicked. So what is wicked and who is wicked? And you know that quote too that says, it's not a quote so much as like a spiritual tenet that says, it's very Buddhist, and it says like all things that are evil is really just some version of suffering. And like that's what it's like kind of causing some kind of distortion here. So I just heard no one mourns the wicked. Yeah. So I feel like this person was made to believe that they were wicked, or that you were wicked, or something's wicked here. So, okay. Another thing that I feel like this has to do is like leadership, and that doesn't have to be leadership over like a group or anything, but this could be just like self-leadership, and I kind of want to equate this to like the yang energy, which is the masculine energy in the universe, yin and yang. And keep in mind, both men and women have both yin and yang, but the yang energy really has to sometimes break away from a group or go its own way, or sometimes say like, no, I know this is right. Even if the pressure is on, it's like, I know that this is the right way. And so even though it's like that quote in Captain America where she says, there comes a time when like everybody is telling you to move and you say, no, you move. You plant your roots like a storm, like a tree in a storm, and you say, no, you move. And so I feel like there's something here where it's like, it's not like, I think what they're learning is like, it's not necessarily wrong or bad that they have had to like really plant their roots like a tree and stand for something, even though it feels like maybe this person was ahead of their time, or people didn't really understand what they were trying to say and what they were kind of getting at. And everybody was seeing this person through their own fractal and through their own prism. But because this feels like there was multiple people doing this to this person at one time. And so it connected them actually with their dharmic energy, or they were like keeping their flame like a candle in the wind. Like they were keeping their flame lit like a can't, like there's like turbulence around them, but it feels like more like pressure, So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying like leader, and there could have been like maybe some fights over like who's like a leader, like jockeying for position or something. But To be a true leader, one must lose something, not gain. That's another thing that Alex said to me. And we were talking about Wicked because he was talking about Galinda and how she truly becomes Galinda the Good. You know, she's kind of like morally ambiguous, you know, like to start with. But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Actually, with who was it first? Was it Elphaba? Where Elphaba became a leader kind of because she lost something. You know, she wasn't trying to gain something, position or status or whatever. Well, Galinda at the end becomes that true leader because of Oz. And she had to lose Fiyero and Elphaba, like the two closest people to her. And that's when she really becomes Galinda the Good. And she's no longer that like smiley, like everybody likes me, and I'm popular and that's my superpower. And that is that kind of like functioning dysfunction energy where it's like the thing, like the place of power is like the thing that you were, it's that functioning dysfunction, right? That you thought was the key to your success. So in Galinda's case, her popularity and she gets along with everybody. She doesn't rock the boat too much, you know. She dresses a certain way. And that has gotten her everywhere in life. Like just like her mom said at the beginning of the movie. Sorry if you haven't seen the movie and this doesn't make any sense to you, and her mom was like, she really wanted to be magical. She really wanted to have powers. But her mom said, trust me, people like you and that's all you'll ever need in this world, right? And it turned out not to be the case because she learned through Elphaba that sometimes you need a spine. And you have to plant your root like a tree and you say, no, you move because what you're doing is wrong, you know, and I won't be a part of it. And I can't be a part of it because it's so averse to me that it's about something deeper for me. And Galinda connected to that place, like through a lot of loss, but it was through her loss and her sacrifice that she became like a true leader. So to become a true leader, one must lose something, not gain. And that thing could be tangible, like she lost her friend or she lost, or somebody here, like you could lose your house. You could lose your position at work. You could lose a big chunk of money or something that's like kind of relevant to something here. Or it could be ephemeral. And okay, so it says, and usually it requires a choice and an action. Karma means action to end a functioning dysfunction. To end a functioning dysfunction that seems through the lens of fear to keep you safe. This has been a running theme here, right? Afloat, praised, or ahead. I'm going to say that again. To end a functioning dysfunction that seems through the lens of fear to keep you safe, afloat, praised, or ahead, but actually limits you in some big way overall. It will take you a certain distance, but no more. And like for Galinda, it'll take her to being popular, you know, and maybe that's its own kind of, her soul, Galinda's soul is so interesting because like she's very much on a certain level. And Elphaba asks her to come with her. You know, she says, unlimited. Think about all we could do together. There's nothing that we couldn't do. Are you coming? And she says, no. And then Fiyero says, are you coming? And he's like, you can't leave this behind. You, what did he say? It was so powerful when he said it. He was like, you don't want to leave. It's like, you don't want to leave, but it's like, because you can't rise above this. It's something like, you can't resist this. It was something like that. And he was so right. Like, and she was like, but who could? And so the self-awareness where she doesn't get defensive with him. She just says, well, who could? And she's like, the people are relying on me to uplift their spirits. And there's a lot of vanity in that. But she is kind of doing good. And so she's stuck in that place where it's a functioning dysfunction. She's doing a little bit of both. Yeah, there's some good there. But if you only focus on the good that you're doing, you're not actually like kind of meeting yourself, you know? And so she's not ready to leave Oz or that level of consciousness. But Fiyero and Elphaba are both ready to ascend. And they're both ready to ascend together. This like old version of themselves, you know? And Fiyero has seen something different, right? He tells Elphaba like beauty is looking through like, you've got me looking through an entirely new lens. And maybe that makes me brainless, but I really like where I'm going, you know? And Elphaba is, she has to admit that, you know, she says, I've been so afraid of losing love. I guess I've lost, you know, it's like, and, you know, she didn't really lose the love of Galinda if she has to like leave her behind or whatever. But, you know, anyways, so it'll take you a certain distance, but no more. That's that functioning dysfunction energy. And you see that in Galinda where she's like not quite ready to like leave that, you know? And by the way, you also see like just the selfless love that like both Elphaba and Fiyero have for her when they're like, she basically needs to know that like we're dead, that she basically needs to think that we're dead, so that she can focus on her journey and like where she needs to, because otherwise she'll just be looking for us. And she needs to be able to grieve this, you know, in a finite way. Even though the truth is that they're alive, like she's not ready to meet with that truth because she's got to put her focus on this like leadership arc, you know. And you see Galinda where the wizard led with lies and manipulation. And you see Galinda actually move away from that. And even though it's uncomfortable, put the honest to God truth out there, even though she knows it's not the pretty thing that people want to hear. And that is such a huge step of growth for that person, for that soul. And we celebrate these kinds of little things. It doesn't always look like a giant leap to like, I wasn't enlightened and now I'm enlightened, you know, like it's, so I feel like there's something here to do with that. Yeah, so it will take you a certain distance, but no more. And then to get where you really want to go, you have to get back to the uncomfortable beginning that you avoided in the first place. Oh my gosh. And then I wrote, because I knew you, like that song. And I feel like that might even be like a message here, like, because, oh yeah, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn. And it's like, well, I don't know if that's true, because Galinda is like not really, you know, she is like on the surface level of things. She likes being popular. She knows all about the brands and like everything, you know. She's like, I don't quite know if that's true, but I do know that because I knew you, I have been changed, you know, and the play on words there, like for good. I've been changed somewhat permanently. And then at the end, they both kind of sing to each other like, I do believe I have been changed for the better. And they just talk about how much they mean to each other and how it was like so shocking. And then the whole play between the two of them. So if you have not watched Wicked and you haven't clicked off here, like probably there's, if this is a problem, you've definitely clicked off. Otherwise there's a larger problem with personal responsibility that probably needs to be looked at. But, yeah, so there's a whole play on words between the two of them of, I hope you're happy. You know, because like Galinda, she starts off like, I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now. You know, and it's really like petulant. But then at the end, she's like, I hope you're happy. Like she really means it, you know. And then, oh my gosh. Okay, so no good deed goes unpunished. This was all like Wicked stuff. Thank you so much for the super chat, Leo Love. Okay, so the theme of that, okay, so isn't that all it is? Oh, okay, so Elphaba asks in that song, No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, that is she's philosophizing and she's really asking herself like, isn't that all good deeds are? It's just a ploy for attention. So she's questioning her own motives. And that's very different than Galinda, right? That's that level of consciousness up from Galinda, where she's like, she is very capable. So I feel like this person's learning here, again, that like you're the true leader. Like just because this person's like more popular or like can dress like a certain way or something, or maybe there could be an overlap where somebody here could have gotten like, they could have realized that they're the different archetype. You know, they thought that they were a Galinda, but actually they're the Elphaba. Or they thought that you were the Galinda and actually you're the Elphaba. Or like vice versa here. But so you see the difference in the levels of consciousness where you see Elphaba actually questioning her own motives and saying like, I did a good deed, but maybe all good deeds are like just a ploy for attention. But then, and so I feel like there's something here. Okay. I'm just going to keep reading this because it's like kind of coming through, but we'll just see what I wrote. So if you tried to do the right thing, it was framed like a ploy for attention, a facade, disingenuous, doing it for show and not from a genuine motivation or somebody here, right? And so I think that you had to learn, or somebody did, that if someone has already made up their mind about you, there is nothing you can do to change that. It will all be framed through their lens. And ironically, their rigidity towards you and like putting you in like a certain role or something is where that pressure to perform in the first place would even come from. Not even from a bad place, but just to try and show you that, to prove that they're actually coming from a good place. And that's kind of mixed in with vanity, right? Like, I need you to know that I'm coming from a good place. When it's like, maybe I can just let you go and just accept that you can't see that I'm coming from a good place, but I am the one that has access inside of myself. And I know that I'm coming from a good place, or an innocent place at the very least, where I'm not trying to like hurt you or something like that, right? So not even from a bad place, just to try and show that you're coming from a good place, but you're meant to exist. You're not meant to perform. And so there's somebody here where like, I feel like two people here could even get locked into some kind of holding pattern. And you know, like some spiritual advice says to like really look at somebody and set them free in your own mind. Like see the highest version of them. Like when you look at them, that's like a spiritual practice of like love and light. Like I don't see you where you are. I see like the highest version of you. And therefore you are like set free, because it seems like somebody here is just like so determined maybe to look at you as the problem. And because maybe you were like Galinda, you know, maybe you felt like, well, I just have to be popular and then everything's going to work out okay. That's what people expect from me. And if I were to break out of that mold, it's going to freak a lot of people out. It's going to cause other people to get in alignment with their discomfort around, oh, she's changing and the world is already scary enough and I don't want to do that. And so it's like you're push-pulled in like these two different directions. But it gets you in a level of consciousness where that's where I feel pressure to perform. And it can come from a good place, actually. And it doesn't have to come from a bad place, but you're meant to just exist in the flow of life and not to have to perform your goodness. As they say, be a good person, but don't waste your time proving it, because you don't have to prove it to other people. It's more important that you just live from that place and then allow that to guide you, and say clearly, like, I'm not, because that's also a way that people like want power over you. They want you to think that there's some kind of authority in your life, and they're not. And you can really just bless that person on their way and just go continue to follow that positive influence to wherever it is that you're kind of meant to be. And it feels like maybe that's what some of you did, and like it's led you to some kind of true leadership, where somebody here, I think this all kind of builds, where like maybe somebody wanted to be the leader, and that could be like literally the leader, maybe like the manager, they wanted to get the promotion over you. Or it's like even like the social leader, like follow me, I know the truth or whatever, like, but they wanted to gain something from that position, even if it was just vanity, or like, who could walk away from this? Like, who could? And Fiyero says, we know who could and who has, and she's out there and in trouble, and so it's like somebody here has like what really actually, whether you can know it or not, somebody here has walked away from like vanity or like, and that there's something here where that's been proven. And I know I wrote something about that later on. So, that's set up, but you're just meant to exist and not perform. So that setup between the two of you would just be very disempowering for the person who is actually like making some kind of change here. And I think that's why you're encouraged to walk away. Somebody is recognizing who like that true leader is, like, well, this is what makes me the leader. But I don't think somebody here is preoccupied with leadership. I think somebody here is really questioning, they're preoccupied with questioning their own motives and not necessarily the motives of somebody else. Like, but, or they can see like that other person, clear. So somebody here is like recognizing the rightful leader. And that's because that person gave something up. And I think some of you know, I was just like channeling this, which is why I'm like talking like I'm speaking. I think some of you know that because some of you know that, somehow whoever is realizing the rightful leader, they know that person had to give something up. Some way, somehow, spirit made the stars align where that person has to recognize that person had to give something up. And it either could be because they actually took something from them, or they made them choose, like whether you give something up or you have to walk away, like kind of they put them in a Sophie's choice kind of position because that person went without support, or they went accused and like they went under pressure. Or like it could be that somebody here took it, and I wrote, I just heard, even if it was just the credit, like even if you just took credit for something, maybe you didn't take something like tangible, but you took credit for this person, their transformation or something, or their ideas, or the result of something. You took credit and you shouldn't have. But I wrote, I'm seeing this person change color now. And I was seeing like alphabet with the green, but I love Journey of Souls. I've mentioned that several times, and I highly recommend that book, and it is on YouTube, by the way. You can listen to it. That's what I do. I just listen to it like at night, and it really calms me. It's the work of Dr. Michael Newman, and he does like life between life work is what it's called. And I'm just saying this the way it's coming through because for some of you, this is going to click something together. Where this is, it seems irrelevant overall, but I think for some of you, there's certain specifics about this that might be relevant. But he was like an atheist. Okay, we're talking like full left brain, like atheist dude. But he was a doctor of psychology, and he took on patients. And as a part of that practice, he practiced hypnotherapy. And he said that people would call him and ask for past life regressions and stuff. But he was just very by the book, and he would always say no, no, no. Until much like Dr. Brian Weiss, who is also he was a celebrity therapist, Dr. Brian Weiss. He also used hypnosis, but they had the same experience. Also, this is the work of Dolores Cannon. They all kind of get into it the same way, where they have this really, really tough patient that they really can't get to the bottom of their issues. Oh my God, this is me. Oh my God. Disturbed soul. Yeah. So it could be somebody here is like a disturbed soul. And what that means is they've been murdered or like killed a lot, like in past lives, possibly even like from the person that they're interacting with or something. And so it's like, I don't understand why you don't trust me, or I don't understand why this. And it's like a holdover from past lives, or I don't understand why you have such a fear of water when you've never had a bad experience or something, So he had this client who he had a really bad pain in his side, and he had gone to doctors after doctors, and they all, they were telling him there's nothing wrong with him, like every single test that they did. And so finally, like his doctor was like, this is psychosomatic. And I just really recommend that you work with like a therapist to try to like see if that might give you some relief. So he walks into Dr. Michael Newman's office, and So they've been working through some things and it wasn't really working. And so he decides to put him under. And just like Dr. Brian Weiss, he gives him the suggestion to go back to where his symptoms first started. And with this man, he's lying there dying in the mud in like some kind of war. And this guy, Dr. Michael Newman, didn't really believe it, but he just so happened to be an amateur historian, like loves it. And he didn't really believe that it was happening. And he was like, he kind of felt bad now because this man is like writhing around in pain. Usually that hypnotist will give you a suggestion that you don't feel anything, you're observing from afar or whatever. And he's like, I didn't really believe that it was even happening. But he said, describe the insignia. Like what's the insignia on your armband? And he described perfectly. And he knew it was real then. And so that's when he kind of, started to really, he knew then, he said that he had a real, genuine past life, because there's no way that man would have known that. And then his pain started to go away. And that's what kicked off. Eventually, he turned his entire practice into helping people who were curious about their soul journey, life between lives, and things like that. But in Journey of Souls, he talks about the different colorings of the soul, because he would always ask, and he's very scientific about these things. So he doesn't ask leading questions or anything. It's just tell me what you see, explain this. And then he's compiled these things over years and years and years. But they always describe the colorings of the souls. Everything is light on the other side, like light energy, but there's different colors of different souls. And they start off white, and those are like really, really young souls. And they're kind of violent and, like whatever. Then they go to then there's different like within that. But the next one up is like yellow. And then they start to that's more of an intermediary level. And he says intermediary souls start to do things for other people, or they play key roles in society, or they are asked to lead spiritual groups or things like that. As they move to like the next one is like a blue soul. So I was seeing that person's color changing now. And that ties into this because they went without. This person, I think some of them were demonized. Okay. I'm just going to keep reading this because I think I'm channeling the same thing that I was channeling them. But it's like, I feel this person has grown an awful lot through this experience and through you. And whatever you took or whatever was like pinned on them may have proven to them that they did do the good thing and they didn't get any credit for doing it. And that maybe even some of these people were demonized or blamed, but their prize was doing the right thing for the sake of it. And it actually shows a lot of soul fortitude and growth for this person. So some of you, I think, or this person is coming to what they're learning from you is like they're coming to a realization that they took something from you that they shouldn't have taken. Even if it was just credit or praise or like something that you had worked really hard for, something that you knew from the inside out. Because I'm kind of getting that for some of you, this is very ephemeral. It was something that you knew from the inside out, and then this person just sort of like mimicked it. Like, I don't want to be a chicken, I don't want to be a duck, so I shake my butt. Aren't I the same? No, I don't want to be a chicken, I don't want to be a duck, so I shake my butt. I'm the same as you. And it's like they're not. And they took praise, or they took it away from you by casting you in this like demonic light, and I think some of these people are processing through the shame of that, but I think they're also like, oh no, like how do I make that right? But I feel like this was a person where, again, no good deed goes unpunished. Maybe every good deed is just a ploy for recognition. Well, I feel like this soul, that's how they leveled up in the spirit realm. I think that's what they chose as their prize rather than money, praise, accolade. And I think they're showing a difference. There's a soul difference here between these two. And they're saying that person's going to praise me, demonize me, or they're not going to praise me. They're going to demonize me. I'm not going to get the credit for the thing that I did and the person that I actually really was. But I still did the right thing. Because I feel like this person was under a lot of pressure and they still did the motherfucking right thing. And they didn't because it was the right thing to do, and no good deed goes unpunished. And so I feel like this person felt punished for the good deed and for like really saying like, no, this is what I know to be true. This is what I know to be right. They're building up that soul fortitude, and that's what they wanted. That's what they really, really wanted here. So somebody is like actually seeing that in you, or they're having to come to terms with it. And I feel like that's like melting away their entire worldview, but also it's like highlighting their ego, that they are really coming from a place of ego. And someone here either wasn't, or they like transcended it. And I feel like there was maybe a fight over like leadership. It feels petty, but it also feels like it might've been one-sided. And yeah, so yeah. And then I wrote that quote, if we work in tandem, there's no fight that we cannot win. So then what is wicked and who is truly wicked? And, because I think for some people, it might be that they have to first acknowledge like, well, I was actually the wicked one, in this situation. Or I thought this person was Galinda for whatever reason, maybe because they are popular or well-liked, or because they look a certain way and I look a certain way. But actually I'm realizing that I was Galinda because I smiled in this person's face and I was saying the thing that I thought that they wanted to hear, but I was a completely different way behind their back or something. And I was actually demonizing Elphaba, oh my God, so I think for some of these people, it has to be like, I was coming from a wicked place. I was saying that I was helping people or that like I was doing something for good, but I actually wasn't. I was just demonizing. And again, going back to the beginning of this, where demonization is just negative worship. It's like negative devotion energy. Jealousy is warped admiration. So I feel like there was probably some jealousy here at play. Coveting is what I'm hearing, like what thy neighbor has, coveting what is not yours, thinking that it's going to be the answer, and then like allowing that to like color the lens of everything that you're looking at. But actually, like, you know, Galinda and Elphaba, even though they're very different, they kind of each want what each other has, because Galinda wants the magic that Elphaba has, you know, the substance that Elphaba has. Or she wants to be seen in that way, but she doesn't want to have to go through the, you know, Elphaba's the outcast. And that's what's pushed her deep, you know? But Elphaba would like to be seen and understood, which she is like, you know, saying is popular. You know, she wants that. But she doesn't want to have to look a certain way, or she can't look a certain way. She even says that to Glinda. Look at me. Don't look at me through your eyes. Look at me through their eyes. You know, you can do the things that I can't do. But that's, you know, it's like, it's about teamwork, and that's been a running theme here. So what are they learning from you? It could be that this person, if they put you through something where you had to like really persevere, they're maybe going through that dark night of the soul as well, where they're being demonized, or I just heard the word punished. They think that they're being like punished, and there might be some kind of karmic like kickback here. But it's because of what they participated in. They're now going through it just to understand it from the inside out, the same way that you did, so that they can really understand you, and so that they can be reacquainted with like the truth here, but they're not. Yeah. And it even could have been because, again, I'm hearing no good deed goes unpunished. So this person could have done like the good thing, and they were doing it from the level of consciousness where they wanted some kind of like praise or something. And then maybe it really actually backfired on this person, where they got called out for their vanity, or like you just want attention or something. Like they could have actually gotten called out here because the difference in the level of consciousness is like fully separated here. And, so now it's their turn. Like, I feel like you were kind of leading the way. Again, you were the teacher in this moment just because you had to deal with this first. You were ready to go through this lesson first, because we're all just walking each other home, right? So now it's this person's turn. And so I think that maybe they actually even draw a lot of hope and inspiration from you and what you were able to like weather. And I just heard that it's worth it in the end. So, yeah. Oh, thanks. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, and it feels like there's something here about feedback as well, because there's like one person who knows the right thing. Like they're in the perfect position. They have experience. They have lived something here. And it feels like there's a lot of people around that are like coming from a fuzzed, static kind of place themselves, but then they're pushing that static energy at this person to like kind of confuse them. And that's the thing that they're supposed to like stand up to. So I feel like you've done it and now they're doing it or something here. And I think they feel like victimized. They feel like, well, I was just innocent, or, but there is this dual nature. It's not innocent in the way that animals are innocent, in the way that like, what I mean is that they're just kind of running off of instinct, and there was no somebody here wanted attention, or they wanted to be popular, or they wanted your position, or they wanted to be the leader, but they weren't the rightful leader, and they didn't allow themselves to be chosen for that position or to naturally grow into that position or something. They were sabotaging, or they took steps to show off or something like that, and they weren't ready, and it hurt a lot of people or something like that, you know? Or it confused a lot of people, and it put a lot of undue pressure on the person who spirit actually put there to be the actual leader. It put a lot of undue weird shit at them. But again, nothing gets wasted. So it feels very karmic, and it just feels like the karmas that are, I just heard, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to punish you. This is coming from spirit. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm just trying to like bring up what's already there so that it can be dealt with, balanced out, and we can all kind of move on from this. So, okay, that's what I have for pile number 3. This is a bit of a weird reading because the concepts were kind of deep, and I feel like maybe that's it. Like I channeled the night before and I kind of write this out when it's concepts that I'm just like learning myself too, because we're all just learning this together. Like another thing that maybe we're all learning is like, you don't have to learn from other people. They don't have to be advanced, like, or more advanced than you, or like too much more advanced from you, because sometimes they say the best teacher is one that's like 1 or 2 steps ahead. But if you stick in a group, then it tends to be that somebody always has the answer, but in order to see who's really has the answer and who's like just jockeying for position or something, means overcoming fear, and pride and vanity and things like that. And, yeah, because it could be like just in this lifetime while we go through this certain thing, I'm the one sitting behind this camera, but then the next lifetime when we go through a different tunnel or a pass, it's somebody else, and, or whatever. I don't know, because we're all just walking each other home. So, okay, that was pile number 3. We're just moving and grooving through this, are we not? I'm writing my book still. So thankful for this reading, Jess. Rooting for him and myself. Yes. We're all just walking each other home. That's a Ram Dass quote, by the way. From, I thought I had that one up here. What's the book that Ram Dass wrote with the big chair on the front and all the, it's blue. Be Here Now. Okay. Spirit guide, ancestor in training. All of us are, right? I mean, refuse to die. Michael Newman, that's what he said he's heard so many times. Like when he puts people through, like, because he takes them to like the moment after death. And he's like, I've heard it so many times, like, I'm not dead. Oh my gosh, I'm not dead. So funny. They say, I don't know why I want to tell you this, but they also say that like Earth, this is what like people were telling him when he was asking like the questions. And they were saying the Earth is one of the harder schools, primarily because we have the amnesia. Like when we come in, we don't remember ourselves to be immortal. And we also don't remember the other lives that we've lived and the things that we've kind of like built up before. And so we have this kind of like, this experience that is like complete in and of itself. And it allows us to confront our fear and everything. And you will really get to a point where you realize that nothing was arbitrary and that it was all for you and it was all for your highest good. If you can connect to that space, like where you can get rid of the fear and stop looking at it through the lens of fear, which is kind of keeping you like blocked, and stop using your gifts is what I'm hearing. Oh, because that's like a big lesson with me. Stop using your gifts through the lens of fear. So some of you might be really knowledgeable, but you're using the knowledge to like as a shield, or like you're very personable, but you're using your personality like as a big shield. And there's adeptness to that, but it's blocking actually like spirit's energy from flowing through you outward and from coming inwards, like in the way that it's really meant to do, in a way that's meant to soothe other souls, like, and really bring like a kind of peace of mind. And there's a dharmic energy that's like very much connected to that and working that out. But it's like, it feels like it's a dharmic energy where like you come up through your karmic energy, through some kind of this like blockage. And it feels very like healer, heal thyself, teacher, teach thyself, you know, like how to get through this blockage. And then that's kind of integrates where you can put knowledge, or you can put your personality in some kind of greater context or something here like that. Okay. So if you, the law of one, Ra teaches to lead and to teach is the same thing. I've heard that as well. Not as like that specifically, but yeah. Before the reading, I asked for a specific person, and in the other 2 piles, another person kept popping up, which, not going to lie, annoyed me a little, but the last pile was it. Thank you. And that's beautiful, right? Because everything like happens in it. It's like, it's a process, and it's like led you on a journey. So I made you wait. Interesting. Okay, so, oh, yay. All right, so if you're ready for the book, Emily, thank you so much for the super chat. This entire reading resonates. Nice to see and hear my internal reflections be reflected back to me, a gift to connect in this way. I agree. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just going to take a brief moment here. And we're going to read Codependent No More. Codependency is just fear, right? It's that fear lens. Now I'm singing Wake It in my head. Hey. Many blessings. Thank you. All right. We all on one time on one planet. Yep. Oh my gosh. Okay. So pile number 8, remove the victim. We're so careful to see that no one gets hurt. No one, that is, but ourselves. Anonymous. Yay. Okay. About a year into my recovery from codependency, I realized I was still doing something over and over that caused me pain. I sensed this pattern had something to do with why many of my relationships went sour, but I didn't know what it was that I was doing, so I couldn't stop doing it. One sunny day, as I was walking down the sidewalk with my friend Scott, I stopped, turned to him, and asked, "What is the one thing codependents do over and over? What is it that keeps us feeling so bad?" He thought about my question for a moment before answering. Codependents are caretakers, rescuers. They rescue, then they persecute, then they end up victimized. Yo. Study the Cartman drama triangle, he said. We talk about this triangle all the time. The Cartman drama triangle and the accompanying roles of rescuer, persecutor, and victim are the work and observation of Stephen B. Cartman. What Scott said didn't make sense at the time, but I went home, dragged out some therapy books that were collecting dust on my shelves, and studied. After a while, a light went on in my head. I saw, I understood, and I felt like I had discovered fire. This was it. This was my pattern. This is our pattern. This is what we repeatedly do with friends, family, acquaintances, clients, or anybody around us. As codependents, we may do things, but this pattern is what we do best and most often. This is our favorite reaction. We are the rescuers, the enablers. We are great godparents to the entire world, as Ernie Larson says. We not only meet people's needs, we anticipate them. We fix, we nurture, and fuss over others. We make better, solve, and attend to, and we do it all so well. Your wish is my command is our theme. Your problem is my problem is our motto. We are the caretakers. What's a rescue? Rescuing and caretaking mean almost what they sound like. We rescue people from their responsibilities. We take care of people's responsibilities for them. Later, we get mad at them for what we've done. Then we feel used and sorry for ourselves. That's the pattern, the triangle. Rescuing and caretaking are synonymous. Their definitions are closely connected to enabling. Enabling is the therapeutic jargon that means a destructive form of helping. Any acts that help a substance abuser continue abusing, prevent the abuser from suffering consequences, or in any way make it easier for a substance abuser to continue abusing are considered enabling behaviors. As Counselor Scott Eggleston says, we rescue anytime we take responsibility for another human being, for that person's thoughts, feelings, decisions, behaviors, growth, well-being, problems, or destiny. The following acts constitute a rescuing or enabling move. Doing something we really don't want to do, saying yes when we mean no, doing things for people who shouldn't be doing those things for themselves, or for people who should be doing those things for themselves, meeting people's needs without being asked and before we've agreed to do so, doing more than a fair share of work after our help is requested, consistently giving more than we receive in a particular situation, fixing people's feelings, doing people's thinking for them, speaking for another person, suffering people's consequences for them, solving people's problems for them, putting more interest and activity into a joint effort than the other person does, not asking for what we want, need, and desire. We rescue whenever we take care of other people. At the time we rescue or caretake, we may experience one or more of the following feelings: discomfort and awkwardness about the other person's dilemma, urgency to do something, pity, guilt, saintliness, anxiety, extreme responsibility for that person or problem or fear, a sense of being forced or compelled to do something, mild or severe reluctance to do anything, more competency than the person we are helping, or occasional resentment at being put in this position. We also think the person we are taking care of is helpless and unable to do what we are doing for them. We feel needed temporarily. I am not referring to acts of love, kindness, compassion, and true helping, situations where our assistance is legitimately wanted and needed, and we want to give that assistance. These acts are the good stuff of life. Rescuing and caretaking aren't. Caretaking looks like a much friendlier act than it is. It requires incompetency on the part of the person being taken care of. We rescue victims, people who we believe are not capable of being responsible for themselves. The victims are capable of taking care of themselves, even though we and they don't admit it. Usually our victims are just hanging around that corner of the triangle, waiting for us to make our move and jump on the triangle with them. After we rescue, we will inevitably move to the next corner of the triangle, persecution. We become resentful and angry at the person we have so generously helped. We have done something we didn't want to do. We've done something that was not our responsibility to do. We've ignored our own needs and wants, and we get angry about it. To complicate matters, this victim, this poor person we've rescued, is not grateful for our help. They're not appreciative enough of the sacrifice we have made. The victim isn't behaving the way they should. This person is not even taking our advice, which we offered so readily. This person is not letting us fix that feeling. Something doesn't work right or feel right, so we rip off our halos and pull out our pitchforks. Sometimes people don't notice, or they choose not to notice, our peeved moods. Sometimes we do our best to hide those feelings. Sometimes we let loose with the full force of our fury. We particularly do this with family members. Something about family tends to bring out the real us. Whether we show, hide, or partially hide our agitation and resentment, we know what's going on. Most of the time, the people we rescue immediately sense our shift in mood. They saw it coming. It's just the excuse they needed to turn on us. It's their turn in the persecution corner. This may proceed, happen at the same time as, or follow our feelings of anger. Sometimes the victims respond to our anger. Usually theirs is a response to our taking responsibility for them, which directly or indirectly tells them how incapable we believe they are. People resent being told or shown that they are incompetent, no matter how loudly they plead incompetency. And they resent us for adding insult to injury by becoming angry with them after we point out their incompetency. Then it's time for our final move. We head right for our favorite spot, the victim corner on the bottom. This is the predictable and unavoidable result of a rescue. Feelings of helplessness, hurt, sorrow, shame, and self-pity abound. We have been used, again. We have gone unappreciated, again. We've tried so hard to help people, to be good for them. We moan, why? Why does this always happen to me? Another person has trampled on us, taken advantage of us. We wonder, are we destined to always be victims? Probably if we don't stop rescuing and caretaking. Many codependents at some time in their life were true victims of someone's abuse, neglect, abandonment, alcoholism, or any number of situations that can victimize people. We were at some time truly helpless to protect ourselves or solve our problems. Something came our way, something we didn't ask for, and it hurt us terribly. That is sad, truly sad. But even sadder fact is that many of us codependents began to see ourselves as victims. Our painful history repeats itself. As caretakers, we allow people to victimize us, and we participate in our victimization by perpetually rescuing people. Rescuing and caretaking is not an act of love. The drama triangle is a hate triangle. It fosters and maintains self-hate, and it hinders our feelings for other people. The triangle and the shifting roles of rescuer, persecutor, and victim are a visible process we go through. The role changes and the emotional changes come over us certainly as intensely as if we were reading a script. We can complete the process in seconds, experiencing only mild emotions as we shift roles, or we can take years to complete the triangle and really work up to a major explosion. We can, and many of us do, rescue 20 times in one day. Let me illustrate a rescue. A friend of mine was married to an alcoholic. Whenever he got drunk, she would drive all over town, enlist the aid of friends, and relentlessly pursue her husband until she found him. She usually felt benevolent, concerned, and sorry for him, a warning that a rescue was about to take place. Until she got him home and tucked in bed, taking responsibility for him and his sobriety. When his head hit the pillow, things changed. She charged into the persecutor position. She didn't want this man in her home. She expected him to whine for days about how sick he was, or he would be unable to assume his responsibilities in the family and would act pitifully. He had done this so many times. So she would start in on him, beginning with little snipes and working up to a full-blown blast. He would briefly tolerate her persecution before switching from a helpless victim to a vengeful persecutor. She'd then take a downward dip into the victim role. Self-pity, feelings of helplessness, shame, and despair would set in. This was the story of her life, she would moan. After all she had done for him, how could he treat her this way? Why did this always happen to her? She felt like a victim of circumstance, a victim of her husband's outrageous behavior, a victim of life. It never occurred to her that she was also a victim of herself and her own behavior. Here's another illustration of a rescue. One autumn, a friend wanted me to take her apple picking. Originally, I wanted to go, and we set a date. By the time the date came, however, I was extremely busy. I called her. Instead of telling her I wasn't able to go, I asked to postpone it. I felt guilty and responsible for her feelings. Another rescue on the way. I couldn't disappoint her because I thought she couldn't handle or be responsible for her feelings. I couldn't tell her the truth because I thought she might be angry with me, more emotional responsibility. As if someone else's anger is my business. The next weekend rolled around and I squeezed the trip into my even busier schedule. I didn't need any apples. I had 2 drawers in my refrigerator crammed with apples. Before I pulled up at her house, I had already switched into the persecuting role. I could feel resentment brewing in me as we drove to the apple orchard. When we arrived at the orchard and began tasting and looking at apples, it became apparent neither of us was enjoying herself. After a few minutes, my friend turned to me. "I really don't want any apples," she said. "I bought some last week. I only came because I thought you wanted to, and I didn't want to hurt your feelings." This example is one of thousands of rescuers I've devoted my life to performing. Or one of the thousands of rescues I've devoted my life to performing. When I began to understand this process, I realized that I spent most of my waking moments flipping around the jagged edges of this triangle, taking responsibility for anybody and everybody besides myself. Sometimes I managed big rescues. Sometimes I managed little rescues. My friendships were initiated, maintained, and ultimately discontinued according to the rescue progression. Rescuing infiltrated my relationships with family members and clients. It kept me in a tizzy most of the time. 2 codependents in a relationship can really wreak havoc on each other. Consider 2 people pleasers in a relationship with each other. Now consider 2 people pleasers in a relationship with each other when they both want out of the relationship. They will do horrid things. They'll nearly destroy each other and themselves before one will stop rescuing and say, "I want out." As codependents, we spend so much of our time rescuing. I can usually spot a codependent within the first 5 minutes of meeting and talking. They will either offer me unrequested help or they'll keep talking to me altogether. They're obviously uncomfortable and want to end the conversation. Even though they're obviously uncomfortable and want to end the conversation. They begin the relationship by taking responsibility for me and not taking responsibility for themselves. Some of us become so tired from the enormous burden, total responsibility for other human beings, that we may skip the feelings of pity and concern that accompany the rescue act and move ahead to anger.
We're angry all the time. We feel anger and resentment towards potential victims. A person with a need or a problem provokes us to feel we must act or experience guilt. After a rescue, we make no bones about our hostility towards this uncomfortable predicament. I have frequently seen this happen to people in helping professions. After so many years of rescuing, giving so much and receiving far less in return, many professional helpers adopt a hostile attitude toward their clients. They may continue to hang in there and keep helping them anyway, but they will usually leave their profession feeling terribly victimized, according to some counselors. Caretaking doesn't help, it causes problems. When we take care of people and do things we don't want to do, we ignore personal needs, wants, and feelings. We put ourselves aside. Sometimes we get so busy taking care of people that we put our entire lives on hold. Many caretakers are harried and overcommitted. They enjoy none of their activities. Caretakers look so responsible, but we aren't. We don't assume responsibility for our highest responsibility, ourselves. We consistently give more than we receive, then feel abused and neglected because of it. We wonder why, when we anticipate the needs of others, no one notices our needs. We may become seriously depressed as a result of not getting our needs met. Yet a good caretaker feels safest when giving. We feel guilty and uncomfortable when someone gives to us or when we do something to meet our needs. Sometimes codependents may become so locked in a caretaker role that we feel dismayed and rejected when we can't caretake or rescue someone. When someone refuses to be helped. The worst aspect of caretaking is that we become and stay victims. I believe many serious self-destructive behaviors, substance abuse, eating disorders, schmegdual disorders, are developed through this victim role. As victims, we attract perpetrators. We believe we need someone to take care of us because we feel helpless. Some caretakers will ultimately present themselves to somebody or some institution needing to be taken care of mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally. Being a victim becomes our story. Why, you might ask, would apparently rational people do this rescuing? Many reasons. Most of us aren't even aware of what we're doing. Most of us truly believe we're helping. Some of us believe we have to rescue. We confuse the idea of what constitutes help and what doesn't. Most of us are convinced that rescuing is a charitable deed. We may even think it cruel and heartless to allow someone to work through or face a legitimate feeling, suffer a consequence, be disappointed by hearing no, respond to our needs and wants, and generally be held responsible and accountable. Never mind that they will certainly pay a price for our helping, a price that will be as harsh or even more severe than any feeling they may be facing. Many of us do not understand what we are responsible for and what we are not responsible for. We may believe we have to work ourselves into a frenzy when someone has a problem because it's our responsibility to do that. Sometimes we become sick of feeling responsible for so much that we reject all responsibility and become totally irresponsible. However, at the heart of most rescues is a demon, low self-worth. We rescue because we don't feel good about ourselves. Although the feelings are transient and artificial, caretaking provides us with a temporary hit of good feelings, self-worth, and power. Just as drink helps an alcoholic momentarily feel better, a rescue move momentarily distracts us from the pain of being who we are. We don't feel lovable, so we settle for being needed. We don't feel good about ourselves, so we feel compelled to do a particular thing to prove how good we are. We rescue because we don't feel good about other people either. Sometimes with justification, sometimes without. We decide other people cannot be held responsible for themselves. Although this may appear to be true, it isn't accurate. Unless a person has brain damage, a serious physical impairment or disability, or is an infant, they can be responsible for themselves. Sometimes we rescue because it's easier than dealing with the discomfort and awkwardness of facing other people's unsolved problems. We haven't learned to say, "It's too bad you're having that problem. What do you need from me?" We learn to say, "Here, let me do that for you." Some of us learned to be caretakers when we were children. Perhaps we were almost forced to as a result of living with family dynamics of alcoholism. Some of us may have started caretaking later in life due to being in a committed relationship with someone who refused and appeared unable to take care of themselves. We decided to cope by picking up the slack and assuming other people's responsibilities. Many codependents have been taught other ways to be caretakers. Maybe we believed these common lies: don't be selfish, always be kind and help people, never hurt other people's feelings, never say no, and don't mention personal wants and needs because it's not polite. We may have been taught to be responsible for other people, but not responsible for ourselves. Some women were taught that good, desirable wives and mothers were caretakers. Caretaking was expected and required of them. It was their duty. Some men believe good husbands and fathers are caretakers, superheroes, responsible for meeting every need of each family member. Sometimes a state resembling codependency sets in when a person is taking care of infants, young children, or people of any age with special needs. Taking care of infants requires a person to forfeit their needs, to do things they don't want to do, to squelch their feelings and desires. 4 o'clock in the morning, feedings usually only meet the needs of the person being fed, and to assume total responsibility for another human being. Taking care of children is not rescuing. That is an actual responsibility, and it is not the kind of caretaking I'm talking about. But if caretakers don't take care of themselves, they may begin to feel the codependent blues. Others may have interpreted religious beliefs as a mandate to caretake. Be cheerful givers, we are told. Go the extra mile. Love our neighbors. And we try so hard. We try too hard. And then we wonder what's wrong with us because our religious beliefs aren't working. Our lives aren't working either. Religious beliefs work just fine. Your life can work just fine. It's rescuing that doesn't work. It's like trying to catch butterflies with a broomstick, a friend observed. Rescuing leaves us bewildered and befuddled every time. It's a self-destructive reaction. Another way codependents attach themselves to people and become detached from themselves. It's another way we attempt to control, but instead become controlled by people. Caretaking is an unhealthy parent-child relationship, sometimes between two consenting adults, sometimes between an adult and a child. Caretaking breeds anger. Caretakers become angry parents, angry children, angry friends, angry lovers. We may become unsatisfied, frustrated, and confused. The people we help or they become helpless, angry victims. Caretakers too become victims. Most of us have heard the biblical parable about Mary and Martha as told in chapter 10 of the Gospel of Luke. While Mary sat and talked with Jesus and his friends, Martha cleaned and cooked. Before long, the story goes, Martha started banging pans, accusing Mary of being lazy. Martha complained that she had to do everything while Mary relaxed and enjoyed herself. Does this sound familiar? Jesus didn't let this one go by. He told Martha to hush. Mary knew what was important, he said. Mary made the right decision. The message here might be that Mary made the right choice because it's more important to enjoy people than it is to cook and clean. But I also believe that there's a message about taking responsibility for our choices, doing what we want to be doing, and realizing how we become angry when we don't. Maybe Mary's choice was right because she had acted as she wanted to. Jesus helped many people, but he was honest and straightforward about it. He didn't persecute people after he helped them, and he asked them what they wanted from him. Sometimes he asked why too. He held people responsible for their behavior. I think caretaking perverts religious messages about giving, loving, and helping. Nowhere in the Bible are we instructed to do something for someone and then scratch their eyes out. Nowhere are we told to walk an extra mile with someone and grab the person's cane and beat them with it. Caring about people and giving are good, desirable qualities, something we need to do. But many codependents have misinterpreted the suggestions to give until it hurts. We continue giving long after it hurts, usually until we are doubled over in pain. It's good to give, but we don't have to give it all the way. It's okay to keep some for ourselves. I believe helping people and sharing our time, talents, and money are worthy endeavors, but I also believe that our giving should come from a place of high self-esteem. I believe acts of kindness are not kind unless we feel good about ourselves, what we are doing, and the person we are doing it for. A higher self is there to guide each of us if we listen. If we absolutely can't feel good about something we're doing, then we shouldn't do it, no matter how charitable it seems. We also shouldn't do things for others that they ought to and are capable of doing for themselves. Other people aren't helpless, neither are we. Giving to and doing things for and with people are essential parts of healthy giving and healthy relationships. But learning when not to give in, and when not to do things for and with people are also essential parts of healthy living and healthy relationships. It's not good to take care of people who take advantage of us to avoid responsibility. It hurts them and it hurts us. There's a thin line between helping and hurting people, between beneficial giving and destructive giving. We can learn to make that distinction. Caretaking is an act and an attitude. For some of us, it becomes a role, an approach to our entire lives and to all the people around us. Caretaking is closely associated with martyrdom. A state codependents are frequently accused of being in. Didn't this come out in one of the previous readings here? The victim martyr thing. It was in pile number 2 in one of the last live streams recently. And people pleasing, another accusation hurled at us. Martyrs, according to Ernie Larson, screw things up. We need to keep sacrificing our happiness, as well as others, for the good of some unknown cause that doesn't demand sacrifice. People pleasers, Larson says, can't be trusted. We lie, and as caretakers, we don't take care of ourselves. The most exciting thing about caretaking is learning to understand what it is and when we are doing it so we can stop doing it. We can learn to recognize a rescue, refuse to let people rescue us, take responsibility for ourselves, and let others do the same. Whether we change our attitudes, our circumstances, our behaviors, our minds, the kindest thing we can do is remove the victims ourselves. Activity. 1. This assignment may take some time, but if caretaking, rescuing, enabling is causing problems, it may be a breakthrough experience for you. Become familiar with the Cartman drama triangle and how you go through the process in your life. Keep a rescue journal. Focus on the relationships that are troubling you. Record your interactions with the people you identify as causing you stress, anxiety, or concern. Observe when you get angry. Observe when you feel victimized. Observe when you feel confused. The point here is to develop an awareness of yourself and your participation in rescuing, caretaking, and how that results in you feeling victimized. Watch for the role and the mood shifts. When you catch yourself feeling resentful or used, write down how you rescued. Number 2, practice non-rescuing behaviors. Set boundaries. Say no when you want to say no. Do things you want to do. Refuse to do what people want and need. Instead, insist that others ask you directly for what they want and need from you. Begin asking directly for what you want and need. Refuse to do the same. Refuse to assume other people's responsibilities. When you initiate, stop taking care of people. When you initially stop taking care of people who are used to you taking care of them, they may become angry or frustrated. You've changed the system, rocked the boat. It means more work for them and they can't use you anymore. Explain to them what you are doing and allow them to be responsible for their feelings. They may thank you later. They may even surprise you. Sometimes the people we thought least able to take care of themselves can do so successfully when we stop taking care of them. Let me just see how long this next chapter is. I don't think I'm going to read it, but yeah, it's too long. Okay, so the next chapter is chapter 9, and it's called Undependence, which is interesting. Okay, so that was our book. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I had to stop. I would take it back. I would give anything to rewind. He still wants to do this. I'll never love this again. Thank you for reading this book, Jess. Oh, you're welcome. I'm the captain of my own ship. Yes. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you so much for the super chat, Charlie. Thank you for your video messages. You are so welcome. If we all loved ourselves, there would be no problem. Yes. Okay. Kindness is the way. Love you. Yes. All right. So that is what I have for y'all. Let's see. Oh, what did you read in the beginning? Oh, I wrote that. It was just, I had a bit of an experience this week, and I was able to write certain things down that I was realizing because I didn't want to forget it. And then, I just felt called to read it to you guys as sort of like an apology. And also just because I felt like it was a message, like either that you needed to hear from me, some of you, or, that you are hearing from somebody else who is maybe going through some kind of experience like that. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's what I have for you guys. And I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for spending your Friday with me. We do have a live stream tomorrow for those of you that are on Patreon. And the live stream topic is, why are you still so drawn to them? So, and then we have our next 2 readings that are the pre-recorded readings. What are they hiding? Butterfly effect reading. Those are 2 separate readings, by the way. One is, what are they hiding? And, unless they're not, I don't know, because sometimes things are like intertwined like this, but, yeah. And then the butterfly effect, reading. So that's what I have for you guys. We sell candles if you are at all interested, and we'll drop the link below. And I think I'm going to leave that there. And, Alex, I closed out my button tab again on accident. If you wouldn't mind like ending the stream. Like I entirely closed it.
Okay, well, say goodbye.
Goodbye. I'll just sit like this. Bye.